we will be having similar meetings as we in the next several weeks to discuss the findings and the recommendations of the report as prepared by consulting firm MGT. Today, the first issue that we'll be taking up, and this will be to entertain the I guess the responses from the Sheriff's Office, what you all can and cannot do, and what the cost will be. So, item 1, discussion regarding consulting services agreement report titled Cameron County Cost of Stabilization Effectiveness Study. So, how are we going to do this? Who's going to take the lead from the Sheriff's Office to discuss this? Sheriff? Okay.
Good morning. Hell, I can do it. If I have to, I'll be here. You know, sometimes whether you like it or not, you do it, right? God, I need one.
Mike. Turn the mic on, Mike.
Okay. Good morning. I'm Mike Leinert. I'm the jail administrator, Cameron County. We're here to put on a workshop and a presentation regarding the MGT study that was done last fall. At this time, I invited staff here so everyone would be able to get a face to a name, because many times we come up to the court and we ask and we talk about departments and such, and the court you know, they see me or they see the sheriff or the chief, but they don't get to see the folks that are actually doing all the work in the facility. So starting in the back, if I could get you to stand up and identify yourself and tell you how long you've been with the county, the Sheriff's Department, I'd appreciate it, starting with Lieutenant Huerta back there. Doctor?
I'm a board certified in family practice, with fellowship in sports medicine, subspecialty back in Medicare, and I was the wound care medical director for the last 10 years. And I'm here, we have the honor of working with y'all at Cameron County.
Thank you.
Sergeant Moore, 8.5 years.
And I'm Mike Leinert. I've been with the county for 20 years. As you see, we've got a tremendous wealth of experience and knowledge in the jail division. And in the state of Texas, we'll put up our jail against anybody. We're second to none. You have one of the most highly trained teams in the nation. Cameron County jail system is one of within the 100 largest jails in the United States. That being said, the two gentlemen that were here that did the survey, they did a great job, by the way, but I wish they were here. I invited them here. I wanted to, I'm not challenging them on a few issues, but I just wanted to let the court know. We've worked with Mr. Voss, George Voss, the gentleman from Boston, in the past when the county considering outsourcing of the jail, and that didn't come to fruition. That was about, I want to say about 9 years ago. Mr. Voss is from Boston. He hasn't had the opportunity to do too many jails in the state of Texas at the consulting level. at the outsourcing level, that's his expertise. He's from the Boston area. Mr. Roth is from the Chicago area, and he most recently joined MGT. This was his first Texas jail. Both those gentlemen, again, they're experts at what they do. They've been in the corrections field, but they've been in the field where in the East Coast, unions pretty much dictate policy in county jails. In the federal level, the American Corrections Association is the governing factor for county jails and regulation. In Texas, due to a lawsuit that was filed, and it went to the Supreme Court, Estelle versus Ruiz in the 70s, compelled the state to create a jail standards, a minimum jail standards. And out of that minimum jail standards, every county is obliged through law to follow those rules. They were a little perplexed when they did our survey that we had to follow certain stringent rules such as 48-1. Again, other counties all over the United States aren't compelled to do that. In Arizona, that guy that puts his inmates in tents and such, he doesn't have a jail commission to answer to. So, you know, that being said, we have to follow those standards, and there's certain things that we have to do, and management-wise. Otherwise, they'll shut us down, and we don't want that. So we want to do the best for the safety and security of the facility, and we want to do the best for the taxpayers of Cameron County, and we want to do the best for the inmates, a humane place for them to be housed. You bear in mind that most of them are pretrial felons. They haven't been convicted yet. I'm rambling on here. I'd like to show a real short 1-minute video. This is typically a day in the life of a Cameron County jail. Some of it's violent, so if you know, some of you folks are averse to blood, I would either step out or close your eyes. It's only 1.5 minutes long. Thank you. That's a typical day. You know, those things don't happen every day, but we always have to be, you know, alert and aware that at any given instance something can happen, something violent can happen. And when that does, we have to shut down the facility. There's an incident over here in this cell over here. This is Garza's record. The addition's not on this map, but if there's an incident where someone decides to assault another inmate, and we're booking, or we're doing habeas corpus hearings, or we're doing magistrate's court, or we're doing video arraignment, everything shuts down. We have to stop. And all our officers have to respond to this incident. We have minimum staff to supervise what's going on here. And just in this section alone, there's 658 inmates. So a lot of times folks don't understand, you know, why we need to respond, or why we're shutting down, or how come visitation got put on hold, or how come an attorney can't see his client right away, because there may be an incident in the jail where we have to respond. And that's first and foremost. If the power goes out, all the lights go out, we have to recount every one of those inmates. Every single inmate, we have to recount. We have to tell them, get against the wall so we can count one by one. And when we count count them, we gotta make sure we look at them. We gotta make sure that when those lights went out, they didn't get assaulted, they're not beat up. Because some of them will get beat up and they won't say anything because they're a gang member, and if we tell, they're gonna get beat up again. And when they beat people up in the jail, it's not a real street corner fight. These are violent assaults. Seen the folks that are in the hospital. You've seen a guard in that picture get bit by an inmate. When a guard gets bit or assaulted or such, we can't ask if that inmate has HIV. That's against the HIPAA rules. They can tell us to use universal precautions. There's every one of these guards that have feces thrown in their eyes or urine or been bit or been assaulted. Every one of them were assaulted. It's part of doing business in jail. So when it was said that we do head counts, yeah, we do head counts, we're required to do 5 by the state. You do more than 5 a day. That's our most important mission, is the safety and security, to know that those inmates are there and not escapers. I just wanted to show the court basically that little clip to see what goes on so we can get a picture of what happens in the jail.
Mike, just a quick question.
Yes, sir.
Just a quick question. When, as MGT was doing this, do you know if they had a copy of the jail commission standards handbook or requirements, whatever?
Yes,
Do you
sir.
know?
I gave them a copy of the standards. I introduced them over the phone to Shannon Hercoltz and Brandon Wood at the jail standards. We also gave them a copy, and a lot of the report is predicated on that copy that we gave to the court. Solutions that was written by the jail standards 2 years ago, solutions such as pretrial diversion and things of that nature. They incorporated probably 60% of that report into this report.
So I guess my question goes to, as they were making these recommendations, were they using the state of Texas's jail commission handbook, for any other word?
They had to. Again, we met very closely with them, and when they were making suggestions to us, like, hey, we could do it different this way, we told them, well, wait a minute, you need to look at Chapter 271.3 of the jail standards, and I'll show you those in a minute, where, we can't do it that way unless we ask for a waiver. Now, we've been very successful with the jail standards getting waivers. We've got 3 in the last 2 years, so we're looking at trying to change that number again if we can, just due to the nature of our situation with our federals and such, and our classification system. The jail standards have been working with us. They've been very good. But these folks, Judge, to answer your question, when they came to a roadblock such as a 48-to-1 issue or counting 5 times instead of 1, they recommended, well, in another jail they only do it once. Well, that's in New Hampshire.
Most of their comparisons were to jails outside of Texas?
That's correct. These 2 gentlemen themselves, they're cutting their teeth on this jail in the Texas business.
So they've never studied a Texas jail before?
Not, to my knowledge, no, not at this level. Mr. Voss's profession, prior to coming in here, was outsourcing jails. They can come in here and tell us, hey, this is what you need to do to privatize your jail. And if you read the report, that's the direction they kind of want to go to.
Right.
Well, I think where I was going was, did any of the recommendations that they make go beyond the Texas Jail Commission handbook?
No, sir.
Okay, so all the recommendations that they made were within the boundaries of this Texas Jail Commission handbook.
Yes, sir.
Whether they were comparing to other jails or not, that's not a big deal to me. But as long as they were in compliance and they were following, hey, per the Jail Commission handbook, this is what you must do or shall do, right?
That's correct.
So they weren't invoking New Hampshire law for the jails into Texas.
No, sir.
Okay.
So then, every recommendation that we have received from them is within the jail standards?
That's correct, sir.
Okay, of Texas, yeah.
And, what was really fortunate for us is they recommended that we get more staff. So once they looked at those standards, they said, whoa, you're short like 23 staff. Okay.
Well, there's no doubt that you all have a good operation. I mean, I don't think that's the reason. What I would like to see is, and I think we kind of touched on this a couple of meetings ago, they made numerous recommendations. And what I would like to see is, one, was of those recommendations, which ones can be implemented within the existing resources that we have. The other day you mentioned, hey, we've already implemented this shift or whatever. And then, as you prefaced a few minutes ago, which recommendations are going to require additional manpower, funding, personnel, so we can begin to plan that for the next budget cycle if we can. So, I mean, I don't think there's any dispute that y'all run a good operation. Your employees are loyal. You got a wealth of experience. That's not the issue. The issue is, what is it that are any of the recommendations that they are suggesting impractical? We just cannot do it for whatever reason. And if there are some like that, which ones and why? But the other ones that we can implement, like the hourly and the shift and all that stuff, that's relatively, I guess, straightforward, can we do that? And if we can, you know, what's it going to take to do it?
Yes, sir, we can, we have, and real
And that's
quick-
what I'd like to see, with all the departments are going to present, that's what I'd like to see, the can-nots, and the why-nots.
Sure.
Okay?
Can we go over, if, on
Yeah,
the last
yeah,
page of
please.
your, it says recommendations?
Right.
On the
Let
last
me
page?
make a comment first, Mr. Leonard. What I took away from that meeting last week was the issue of staffing, the training for your officers, the bed space shortage, where we need to be, the federal contract that we've been talking about this now for months. Pretty much everywhere I think we need to go as far as expanding and our federal contract, hopefully a big enough contract that would pay for an expansion of additional facilities. Seems to be the area that's what I keyed on, what they said. Everything else I think that you already do, pretty much. You know, you've changed the way that your 12-hour days or your 4-day work weeks. I think it's a great program, and again, it goes back to the staffing issue. But I don't see any real problem, and there are things that we can do within our budget, and there's a lot of things we can't do. So we need to start thinking outside the box. If we want to grow, you know, for the next 5, 10 years, we're going to have to, you know, get beyond what we have right now. If we don't, we're going to stay stagnant, and we're always going to have the issue of having to send prisoners out or being really tight, cut back the feds. I mean, we already know what the problems are. We need to figure out how to solve them.
Mike,
Okay.
what new thing did they bring in this study? Not, you know, you said 60% of their analysis we've already gotten from the Commission on Jail Standards. What were the 40% that we haven't looked at or that wasn't mentioned before? I guess.
Well, we can go through those real quick on the
Let's
last
go to the
page.
recommendations.
Yeah, let's go to recommendations, and we should, with all these accolades, just close the meeting right now, and we'll accept them and walk away.
Not yet, Mike.
Okay, the jail division starts on the last three, okay? And the sheriff can jump in anytime. He's the one that really authored all this that I'm talking to right now. So number one is develop a criminal justice coordinating council. You know, that's something that we've tried to do. Judge, commissioners, you know, every year we try to get with pretrial release and get with the judges and get with the DA's office to come up with a coordinated effort to streamline the way we're doing business. And that's one of the, Commissioner Sanchez, one of the 40% of those items that you wanted to know what we could glean off of. This is the first one. We really need to take a look at that because, again, Cameron County, I hate to keep, you know, comparing us, but Hidalgo County only has 1,200 beds. They're a lot bigger than us. We have 1,700. Something's wrong. Nueces County only has 900 beds. We got 1,700. They're bigger than us. Something's wrong. So, you know, we really need to look at number one. Number two, case processing.
Hold on, let's take that one, okay? What is it, if that's been a recommendation from you all for a number of years, okay, well then, what's the holdup? I mean, are you waiting for us to appoint people? Or are you waiting to coordinate with these other elected officials or departments?
Well, every department's autonomous, and they all are elected
I understand.
officials. You can't, you know, we can't compel the district courts to, you know, run so many criminal cases, you know.
Did they, no, but I'm talking about develop a criminal justice coordinating council.
Yeah,
So
criminal-
it's some kind of an oversight committee made up of X amount of people, right?
Sure, we've had them before, Judge. We've had Judge Nelson, we've had.
Okay, well, let me ask you, how many people, okay, does the jail commission handbook say how many people are to be on this council and what areas are they supposed to represent? Is there something in writing somewhere?
Not with the jail standards, no,
Okay,
sir.
is there something somewhere that we can go and say, you know, the council is made up of a district judge, county court of law?
Yes, there
County
is.
okay.
I'll get that to you this afternoon.
Yeah, let's get that, let's start working towards that, and then we need to Pete, we need to send a memo or from this court to the people that need to be on that council and saying, we are creating this council in accordance with blah, 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 okay? And then we do it.
Mike-
And then we need to know if they're, you know, number one, if they're not attending, why they're not attending. If they're not participating, why are they not participating? Because I tell you, as the jail overcrowding issue is not laid on your, even though you're at the forefront of it, it's not your fault.
You
There's no
deal
way.
with it.
Yeah, you have to, if you know, you can't say no vacancy or there's no room at the inn. You know, if someone drops somebody off and they've met whatever they gotta meet, you gotta take them in. Is that correct? So let's start with that, get that to us so we can start working on that and visit with the other department heads or elected officials, okay?
Mike, is this the same group that's kind of working on the direct filing? Would that be the same unit or entity of people?
That, yes, Commissioner, it needs to be collective from the time, and not only that, start at the municipalities all the way to probation. And that's basically what they're talking about. You get the pretrial release involved in it, the courts, at every level, at the JP level. And the county is working in that direction right now. We just need to get it cohesive and come up with a plan and work our plan. That gels right in with number 2. The recommendation number 2 is case processing enhancement, criminal justice partners being probation, pretrial release, the jail, the district judges, district courts, the DA's office,
Mike.
should evaluate options to improve case processing.
Yeah,
Yes, sir.
I think that if anyone is at the forefront of who needs to be on that council, you all would know. I mean, more so than any document, than any requirement, because you all are there, you all know what the holdups and the processes are, so you should have a pretty good idea of who we need to make sure sits on the coordinating council, so that way you'd have the key players, you know, for us to
we know.
say, we want so-and-so and so-and-so.
Right, that's what I'm saying. He needs to provide
You
us
know,
with.
Give us a
I mean,
list.
give
Who's
us a
supposed to participate.
recommendation, Sheriff Lucio. I mean, I don't
Yes.
know.
You know, lately, the one that's really taking the lead on something like this is Judge Nelson. And I think that would be an individual that we can start with so he can push the other district judges to go ahead and move their cases. I think Commissioner Sanchez took a very interest last time and said he would talk to some of the judges. And this is where we need to go. I think the other judge that needs to be there, from my perspective, is probably Judge McDonald. He does a great job in moving people out of jail. So you need to have some of those kind of judges there so they can encourage the other judges to perhaps go ahead and try to get as many people out of jail as possible, okay? You need to make some kind of a adjustment. For example, during the summertime, many of the judges, as we all know, you were there, you know, I know Judge Cascos has met with the judges and myself out there trying to make them aware the problems that we have when we don't move people fast enough. And of course, they listen to us, but they don't take any action. So we need to, somehow or another, make them aware that they need to go ahead and work out their summer vacation or training, what have you, where we can have, ample judges here to move people out of here. There are other times, as we've said before, that we have prisoners here for more than a year, 2 years, 3 years. Why are they kept here? And we keep calling the judges. And I know what's happening. You know, they listen to some of the attorneys, like myself and all of you, you know, we're in the political arena and we expect people to help us out, perhaps in the campaigns or what have you. Well, they try to do something for their friends and they keep these people here. Or, on other matters, they will make us bring somebody here on a bench warrant when the case is not even going to be for the next 3 or 4 months. But it comes close to the holidays and they want to have the kids or the relatives want those prisoners or relatives to be here so they can visit with them. So these are some of the issues that come up, and this is what we're talking about. So we need to get some of the judges, the ones that I mentioned, perhaps somebody else, and see if we can all work together on a constant basis and try to move these people as quick. By the same token, we need to get the district attorney there because he's the one that needs to move these people.
Yeah, well, let's work on the ones that we've talked about in terms of who's going to be on this. And again, the only thing that we can do as a commission is ask. We can't demand, you know, and I think a lot of the points that you made have been made before. Okay.
Okay.
Next.
So
Thank
you can bring to us a recommended list so that we can appoint to a council.
Yes, we'll make it very comprehensive, Commissioner.
Okay.
And if you can get that to us today,
Well, or I can get you the booklet today, but I was going to do a little more research. We were supposed to be in Austin tomorrow's Friday.
You're leaving
I'm sorry.
today?
No, we're not leaving. We canceled the trip. I can get you the booklet today.
well, if we can get a list, because we have a special meeting next Thursday.
Sure.
And maybe we can put it on that agenda to put this council together to start moving on it right away.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Number 3 also gels with the first 2. It's all interconnected with that recommendation in number 1. That's pretrial services. It's another department. It's supervised by the Board of Judges, I believe. So that's just something, that's a communication issue. On the next page, I call it number 4. They didn't really letter these or number them. That speaks for itself on privatization. I don't think we're there yet. We've talked to our peers in the industry. We've been talking to them for 8 years. Unless the county's willing to go another $6 to $10 million and give up phone revenue and the commissary and the food service, I don't think that's going to come to fruition. We can try, we can put it out there, but folks don't even want to come down to South Texas to even consider that because the dollars aren't there.
Well,
not only that,
Mike Forbes is here, and we were going to discuss this at some point. You know, the privatization issue has been, you know, it's not our first rodeo, man. We've had it several times, and I think when the numbers finally did come back at the time, it didn't appear to be practical to do it. It was very, very costly. And I mean, it may be something we may want to explore again and maybe update the RFP, Mike, if the court wants to go in that direction. It's not going to hurt to test the market and see what's out there. But I think we're going to find, I think your point, Mike, is it's going to be a lot more expensive to do that. But who knows? Let's go out there and just move forward. At least some of these recommendations, I mean, you know, we just can't say, well, you know, it's not going to work. Let's test it. And if it comes back that's not practical, at least we've got something that we can convey to the taxpayer in terms of, look, we looked at it, it's going to cost us X amount of dollars to do it versus what we're doing now.
But by all means, Judge, I don't have any problem with that. As a matter of
And you
fact,
support that. I know you've been
Yes.
very supportive of that.
sure. And as a matter of fact, I just want to let you know that the last couple of conferences we've had, Mike and I have visited with some of these people, and perhaps you probably know, I think it's Billy Bryan. And I asked him to come out here, and I told him what we had. And as a matter of fact, we had a discussion on it for, you know, a couple of times when we were there. And he said, well, I'll think about it. And of course, he mentioned what Mike had just mentioned to you all. But by all means, whatever it takes, we will be able to work with them, okay?
Thank you.
And you know, I mean, in that spirit, maybe we should look at privatizing some of the facilities only and not all of the facilities.
Exactly. The albatross right now is our federal contract. Nobody wants to come in and, you know, have to swallow those 300 beds at that cost. It's just not feasible. But yeah, we're all open.
Which is the next item.
Yeah, that is the next item, and again, the court knows where we stand on that. Mr. Hodge, Delvia, we're working with, as a matter of fact, they've assisted us in removing 150 inmates to assist us in our overcrowding. So that's just something we're gonna have to live with for the next 2 or 3 years until we're out of that contract. Unless you want to entertain more questions on the Marshall contract.
No,
Ready
go
to
ahead.
go to the next one, okay. Video conferencing, we've done that. The County Court of Law judges, Judge McDonald spearheaded, he got a grant to do it. The DA's office is on board with it. Everyone, it's doing very well. The thing is the jail's not staffed for it. You know,
The jail's not what?
Staffed to go get these inmates, 60 inmates, and bring them, you know, to Carrizales, and then have a little court in there. And again, we have to stop everything we're doing in booking and it was a great, we're going to try this video conferencing. It's successful, but we didn't staff it. So in the future, next budget, that's coming to the table.
So what you're saying, Mike, is if you have an inmate at DC1 that's going to be put through the video conference, you've got to come to DC1, take them to Garizales so they can be at the video conferencing place. We don't have video conferencing in DC1 or DC2.
And you're right, Commissioner, that's what we're doing. As a matter of fact, I just got together with Judge McDonald, and I explained to him the problem that we have. I said, that is not working. It's just right across the street from you all. Why don't we do it?
It's closer just to take them to the courthouse.
Right.
Than
And he's agreed to meet with us to try to work out something. And I told him the best thing to do is to have another video set up right here, and that would eliminate that kind of a problem. Yes. But that's what they were asking us to do, and I told them it's not practical. I said I might as well have everybody come out here at the same time. But I discussed that with him Monday and Tuesday, and he's on board, and we're going to work on that, okay? Where they will bring people from here directly to the courts here until we do something about sending a camera and a video here.
Would it be possible maybe then to take all your federal prisoners and just keep them at DC1? Because those you don't have to video conference.
That's where they're at. All our federals are at DC1 at this time.
But in addition to that, you have state prisoners?
Yes, sir. We have state, because we knocked it down to 150, so we filled the rest of that facility up with state.
Oh, okay.
That's a scheduling issue. I think we can resolve that with the judges. It's a communication issue as well.
Well, and that probably goes back to this council that we need to put together.
Sure.
But that council could probably address that issue.
And Judge McDonald was just testing the waters with this. We weren't sure where it was going to go. Now the other judges want to get on board, and it's successful. The thing is we don't have a place to do it either. We're doing it in a closet in one jail, and we're doing it in a library in the other. So we have to shut down one service in the jail in order to have a court. Essentially we're having court in the jail, and we're not designed for that. We can do that if we plan it. If it gets bigger and the more successful it gets, we need to fund it and ensure that it works properly.
Mike, we are using staff, though, to transport these folks. Could some of that same staff be used as required for the video conferencing?
Well, Commissioner, we didn't staff to transport these for video. We're only staffed to take them to medical visits, to doctor visits, and take them to the district and county courts. Well, we didn't add any transportation of staff to this. We said we would try it. It was only 2 or 3 inmates at first. Now it's 60. So, we need to really look at staffing that. And we're going to work with the court and work with everybody until October on this. But we hope that come October we can get this.
But the fact that those 60 don't have to be transported over here has to save some manpower somewhere.
At least 70% of them are at Carrizales. It's only, what the sheriff is referring to is the 30% that are over there, and that can be corrected by just looking at the Odyssey and seeing where the inmate is before you put him on the docket. Yeah. I mean that's a very fixable issue.
So they can just putting in the hardware for the conferencing at the other facility would probably be a whole lot less expensive than doing the transport.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly. Because the hardware is already there at the courts. We just need to put it in the jail.
In the jail.
Yeah.
But then we need to find out, okay, if we put it here, what service are we going to cut out in the jail so we can accommodate court? You
need a physical location to put the monitor in.
Exactly. Yeah. So, we can work on that, and with that council that we put together, we can streamline that. So that's an issue that they brought up that we can fix. Moving on, establish a post-analysis for the jail division to identify appropriate staffing levels based on current responsibilities. That was an issue that they looked at, and then when they seen the jail standard staffing analysis, where we had to post certain people at certain places, they said, okay, let's see that. And we did put that together, a system of post orders that we have. Establish a post-analysis, the next one, for the jail division that will identify appropriate staffing levels based on current responsibilities. That also goes to the 48-to-1 ratio. We were successful. Judge, you were there. Commissioner Sanchez were there. We were at the jail standards last year, and we asked for a waiver to go to 62-to-1, and we received it. So that helped out immensely. The sheriff is putting together another plan that we hope to present to the court where we can possibly knock down a half a dozen more jail positions at Carrizales-Rucker. It would be a minor construction issue. If we could open up 2 sections, I think we could save manpower there. Not from our existing staff, but from the recommended staff that they have.
Mike, but don't you think that, like getting this waiver, we push the envelope to get the waiver. We have the waiver, but we're still pushing it further. And so we're getting further away than running efficiently, but also running with what we need in order to run the jail. I mean, we're running on fumes, basically, pushing the edge.
Commissioner, we're changing the dynamics at Carrizales. Within the last 20 years, a lot of facilities are going to direct supervision. That's where the guard sits inside with the inmates. And we do that at the Old County Jail. You have linear. At DC 1 and 2, you have indirect. And at Carrizales, 300 of those beds are direct supervision. And we found that when you put the guard inside with 62 inmates, there are no fights. There's no contraband problems because that guard's inside with them. There's a communication guard inmate type of, I don't want to say bonding, but a jail climate that's created that calms everything down. And we've studied this. We were apprehensive about it. We were afraid to go there. We went there, and in the last 6 months, these folks can tell you, there's no violence in there. There's no problems in there. So we want to go in that direction. That's where we can raise, that 48-to-1 was mandated back in the 80s when things were kind of violent and crazy and nobody figured things out yet. And as the years passed, they found out that, hey, if you go this direction, this will calm things down and you can raise the number. Jail standards were apprehensive. They're really afraid to move from a 48-to-1. But if we can prove that we've done it successfully, then they'll consider it. So pushing the envelope there, we don't have a problem. At the Old County Jail with the bad guys and the supermax, no, we don't. We want to leave things the way they are. But where we think we can improve, that's the direction we want to go.
Okay, my only concern is we've gotten to the point where we're running at below, I guess, comfort levels in staffing. By getting waivers, we're pushing it further. And you know, I think we need to be mindful of the fact that if your jail requires 100 guards instead of 75, but we're getting away with 75 because of the waiver, but really we need 100, well, let's focus on what we need to get the job done correctly, not what can we get away with.
Okay, well, and I mean, you know, I appreciate that, Commissioner, and we will do that. We were simply responding to those 3 issues right there that says they recommended what we could do, and that is pushing the envelope. Do we want to do that, or do we want to, you know, I mean, that's...
Well, and because my concern, you have 1 guard, 62 inmates, and these guys aren't in there because, you know, they took the teacher's pencil without permission. I mean, there's some guys in there for things that, you know, collectively you get 62 people, and, you know, if 80% of them are truly guilty of what they did, you still got 40-some people that are criminals in there that at any moment could overpower that guard.
That's an issue that we deal with daily, Commissioner, even with the 48-to-1.
For minimal pay, I know.
We're trying, you know, we're trying our best to follow these guidelines, and if that's what it takes, then, you know, we're willing to go that route.
Well, but I think we need to be mindful too, though, that just because they say stretch the envelope, we need to make sure we don't stretch it too far, because then, you know, we get further away from what the norm is. I mean, do other counties that have jails our size with population our size all run stretching it this far, or are we just stretching above and beyond?
The leaders in the industry are, Commissioner, Collin County, some parts of Tarrant County, and Cameron County wants to be in that mix as well.
But I think a lot of it has to do with the facility that they're housed in.
Exactly. It has to
Some of
be
the
designed and
facilities
created.
are not conducive, as you said, like the indirect supervision is not conducive to those numbers. But the way the Carrizales-Rucker is set up, it is more conducive for that type of oversight.
Okay. And you know, maybe looking at it futuristically, we look at eliminating our 3 units here in the Brownsville area build one unit over there that'll give us the opportunity to have more of that supervision that
That's-
wouldn't require.
That's correct. And then, and right down the privatization line, give those 3 jails to somebody that can make us some money with them, you know? I mean,
Sure, I mean, the feds are always looking for some place to put their prisoners.
Sure. I would like to, the rest of them have to do with the 12-hour issue in the interest of time. Real quick, if we could show, I just want to show you, take me 2 minutes to show you what we've done. We did change in December, and we've noticed a significant decrease in the overtime.
Increase in the overtime?
Decrease.
Yeah, okay.
We've already touched on a few of these. Okay, we already know, we had a problem with it. This is the county policy, and they pointed it out to us that we had to do 171 hours, 28-day pay period.
Mike, you may want to stay close to the mic so because you are being TV'd.
Okay, the 28, that's verbatim out of the policy, that we'll do 171 hours per the 28-day pay period. We weren't doing that, okay, and we weren't doing that for years. We were doing 160 hours within the pay period, but we were using 15 minutes of that on each side to do a briefing, and we have to do the briefing. I mean, there's no way we can operate without communication, because you can't have an oncoming shift come in, 30 staff members. Your sergeant has to assign them somewhere within the facility, and then brief them on who's in the hospital, who has visitation, who's at court and such like that. So you have to have that briefing. And they were going to about 165. And then the rest of the hours were flexed to where they could write the reports. If there was an incident, they had to stay after and write. But we kind of flexed it out to meet that 171. We understood their concern. We looked at it. The court had a concern about some hours that may have been left on the table, and we went to the 12 hours. You can move that next slide. We went to the...
Do you have do you have any recommendations? Can you go back to the previous slide?
Yes, sir.
Do you have any recommendations on that section of our policy manual in regards to your operation?
I would say, I mean, it's, you got a broad definition there. You're saying law enforcement personnel. Are you talking about constables, jailers? Are you talking about, I mean, law enforcement is law enforcement, 171 hours. Bailiffs, everyone that's certified, you can compel them to work 171 and 28 days. Are you going to just compel the jailers to do it, and not the constables, or that's neither here nor there. The point is
Well,
that...
no. I think that it's important that we get a recommendation from the sheriff's office in regard to that. If we need to differentiate our policy, in any way, shape, or form, or if we need to streamline it, or if we need to
Should there be
a
distinction for jailers specifically, I guess, is the question.
Yeah, the question, to answer your question, Commissioner, yes, it needs to be different because, we said it before, law enforcement is very dynamic, so is the jail. We don't know what's going to happen in the next few minutes as far as that goes. To reach it at certain hours, it creates a problem. So that's why we have that flexibility right here. Do we keep tab of everybody that's working at least 170 hours? Yes, we do it at the jail. Yes, we do it at the law enforcement side too, because we're aware of what's going on, okay? And if I need to talk about that right now, for example, we have to have briefing. There's no question about it. However, let's just say somebody came in at 7 in the morning, gets off at 3 in the afternoon. Okay, before they can be relieved from their specific duties, the deputy that's going to relieve him is going to go all the way, because we do have to go all the way to Santa Maria or Port Isabel or, on the other side of Rio Hondo. We can't get there in 5 or 10 minutes. It'll take 15, 20 minutes. The officer that's been assigned to that area has to stay there for the next 10, 15 minutes from the law enforcement side. And if he's got a report, he's got to wait till the end of the tour to come in and complete that report. We do not allow them too many times to do a report out there in the field or to come in to the office to write a report. That would take him half an hour to an hour to driving back and forth. So that's how we account for the rest of the hours. Although in our schedule, it may show that they work 40 hours a week. But at the end of the 28 period, they work 71 hours, and we're very cognizant of the thing that is going on, and we flex them. And Captain Javier Reina does a good job in keeping track of everyone who works every single day.
In other words, There's time before the shift that the officer has to be there to get the direction from the next person coming in, from the person going out, and vice versa, give information to the person coming in, the person that's going out.
That goes in every private law enforcement. It's a briefing. You want to know what happened the last 16 hours or the last 8 hours that you were off, and whatever took place during that time, especially at the jail or even out on the field. That goes without saying.
And that's the reason we have the 171 versus the 160.
That is correct. What happened, Commissioner, from way back there, and I can tell you when I started working, we worked 6 days out of the week, okay? Because there was no FLSA. They came into play, and we used to work from beginning of the month till the end of the month. If you had 29 days like February, fine, if you're working nights. If you had 30 days, you worked 30 days. If you had 31 days, you worked 31 days. To make it work under the federal guidelines, which is a 40-hour week, we had to change it to a 28-day period. Otherwise, you would have to be paying overtime. Can you imagine an agency like Houston or Dallas or San Antonio who's got 4,000 officers to work in 3 days extra? You'll have to pay that overtime. So that is the reason for it. What they're saying here is, once they work that 171 hours, then you have to pay them time and a half. What we work at here, the 40 hours, which when you multiply it is almost 160, we have the flexibility that we have to pay them straight time. But we make sure that they work at least 171 hours in the 28-day period.
And again, I go back to the question is, do we need to do something with that section of the policy in regards to the law enforcement personnel?
Yes, you do. You have to explain that this is the reason and why it needs to be done that way.
Yeah, but
instead of just being rigid and say,
Yeah.
you've got to be out here, you got to show it in your work schedule, that it has to be 171. If we do that, Commissioner, then we can do it, but then it costs the county a lot of overtime because an officer is going to know that after 171, he can put in for overtime. 15 minutes, 30 minutes, 45 minutes, and we got to pay him. It's going to create a problem in the overtime. It's going to create a problem with the auditor.
So right now, they're booking 160 hours a month, but what you're saying is they're really working 171.
They're getting paid 171 hours, and then they're getting paid, it's like a salary, actually. They don't get paid by the hour. They get paid like 171, and then they start subtracting from the 170.
Right, but what I'm saying is when they put their shift into play, it's 40 hours a week, 4 weeks, whatever, would be 160. But that extra time when they come in early, they leave late, they make up those 11 hours.
Exactly.
And now if we put in policy that it's 171, they may end up going over.
Exactly,
Is
and you
what
have
you're
to pay
warning
overtime.
us. Right, so we need to make sure that those 15-minute briefings are included in the 171.
Right. That's why it works. That's why it works extremely well right now, and that's why we don't have a lot of overtime, especially in the law enforcement. Okay, in the 2005, I mean, they use about 25,000, and we don't exceed that for that simple reason, Commissioner.
So going to a 4 12-hour shift is just less briefings, fewer briefings before and after shifts.
We still have to do the briefings.
But not as many days out of the week.
Well, we're going to do them, exactly, but the thing is, Commissioner, is we're banking on this, and I'll get to that slide, we're banking that somebody takes a holiday or a vacation day, 12 hours, and that way they won't reach that 171 threshold. So that's what we're counting on. Let me tell you, if it's a holiday, if there's Thanksgiving and Christmas, we got to turn our payroll in on Wednesday. We don't have a crystal ball. We can't anticipate who's not going to show up Wednesday, Thursday, or Friday. But they're still going to get paid 171. Girls have to go back and start deducting time.
Adjusting.
Or finding time. So, you know, I don't want anyone under the impression that we're turning in actual hours and they're getting paid actual hours. That's not the way it is. Martha wants to expound on that, explain it a little better.
Does that include like all of the law enforcement? Because according to this policy, it said, and I'm just going to the policy, I'm not critical of how you're operating, Sheriff. But it says law enforcement personnel. To me, that includes bailiffs. That includes deputy constables.
Well, that is a question that you'll have to answer. What we're talking about here is just
But
from the sheriff's deputy.
if I interpret that particular part of the policy to be law enforcement. To me, a deputy constable or a bailiff is law enforcement,
Right.
right?
It is, yes, sir.
Okay. So,
So anyone that carries a commission, basically, we could consider to be law enforcement.
If it's a commission on law enforcement, yes, Commissioner.
Right, like a jailer or a deputy. And maybe we just need to define that
yeah,
in our policy.
yeah, define the what is it?
Law
Law
enforcement.
Enforcement Commission.
Getting back to the issue that was discussed on the individuals that are law enforcement that are getting paid essentially as a salary like was mentioned earlier for the 171 hours, and they are not actually working 171, or perhaps they are. Before any change gets done to the policy, we need to make sure that we're not going to go afoul of what the Fair Labor Standards requires. Because I know that we have people that work grants, and when a person for some reason gets terminated or resigned, and if their timesheet shows, if it's being said right now that their timesheet does not accurately reflect the hours that they are actually working, that they are working more, then that will open up this particular situation where an individual can come back and say, I was actually working these many hours, but I did not get paid for them. My timesheet only shows this. So that would be a problem.
But can't we put in place the use of Chronos so we'll know exactly? I mean, weren't you updating that, Martha? So we would know exactly what everyone works, so every employee has to clock in and clock out?
Yes, that's in the plan, and we will have Chronos do a presentation. The plan is to have them do a presentation on the meeting of the 15th, I believe, so that they can explain how that process would work to the court and everything. But just to give the court, to clear up the issue, while the Sheriff's Department, the law enforcement, the jailers have gone on a 12-hour shift, I gave Captain Garcia, and if I use the wrong title, I'm sorry. I gave the Captain Garcia a list that goes through the pay period that ended on the 17th, which shows over 90 some odd law enforcement employees that are jailers that did not work 171 hours and actually did receive pay for the 171 per the payroll sheets that we did receive. They're paid the 171 because we have a department head or an individual that is authorized to sign these sheets, these payroll worksheets saying, pay these people 171 hours. They worked a full 171. However, the timesheets that are turned in indicate something different when they are received. So that is a situation that the captain has said that they have addressed, and perhaps now that they have this list, they can go back and review it and review what the problem is.
So the fair labor laws would be different for the grant employees versus county employees? Is that what you're telling me?
The grant employees require, I'm not really familiar with the Fair Labor Standards, what that law requires. I think Mr. Villarreal, and I was looking for him. I know he was here.
He was here earlier.
Yeah, I don't see him now. But when we run into issues where we have law enforcement that is working, that is getting paid overtime and it's grant related, it has to be 171 hours. And those are issues that we have had in the past as well.
Grant-related employees have the same 171-hour schedule?
If it's law enforcement, they have to physically work 171, yes. Okay. So in any modifications that will be done, we have to be sure that all of those guidelines are being followed. And this pre and post briefing time, it should be reflected on their timesheet. I mean, if these officers, if these jailers are working and they are there, then
they should get credit for it.
It should be reported in their worksheets, that they are working.
The feds pay their people for that time.
To answer the question on the 171 as far as the working on the grant, what most of the grants requires us to do is to follow the county policy. However, at one point, we came before the Commissioner's Court and we asked for a variance, which was given to us and say, you work only 160, so you can start working. you know, the overtime right then and there. However, because we give them the policy here, they said, no, you got to show that you have worked the 171. So I don't know if I clarified that
You
point or
clar-
not.
Yeah, you did,
Okay.
sure.
Okay, I just have one more slide real quick to show y'all what we've tracked thus far. And then I'd like Dr. Almeida to give him a few minutes to give you a state of the condition we are in within the infirmary and such. If you look at the overtime hours, this is what we've tracked. Perhaps we can get with the auditor and reconcile these numbers with her. These are hours that we've tracked with the figures that we have. I just received this right now, and I'm concerned about this. These are folks that didn't meet their 171, their 167, 169, 163. Those are pretty much the average. We'll correct this. If actually what we'll do is we'll only pay them by the hour then, because the problem we have is they're paid 171, regardless. Their paycheck is 171 hours. If they're only working 159, then we need to only pay them 159 hours. We'll need to get with Martha to correct the way the system works. We are on the Chronos, so we can do that. Everyone punches in and out.
So everyone at your department's on the Chronos?
That's correct. That's how she was able to accumulate all these numbers. And from here on out, I'll compel all my staff, when you sign the timesheets, if they don't have the 171, turn it in, and then the auditor's office will only pay the hours that were on the Chronos.
That'll get them to work the 171.
That'll get them there. But
Well, and make sure that they're clocking in, you know, for those 15 minutes before and after too.
That's correct.
Because if they're not doing it,
No,
you know.
we have
Right.
to do
We
that.
they need to get paid for their work.
Let me show you real quick on this slide here. Yeah, let me do this slide real quick. You'll see the number of hours have decreased. We started it in December. So, you know, there's going to be a curve to it. That January number is because there really wasn't that much court going on into Christmas, part of January. So, you know, that's an opportunity for us to let people go on holiday as well. We're going to track those numbers for the next quarter, maybe 6 months, and come back to the court and tell you how well this 12-hour thing is working out for us. We'd like the opportunity to pay actual hours worked instead of a 171 salary type a system that we have right now. That would also, you know, we're going to have to do something. We're going to have to do payroll in real time because, like I said, the county's closed after Wednesday, Thursday, Friday on certain holidays or Sundays and Mondays. You know, we still work. So,
Mike, in regards to the recommendation of the 14-hour work period, do you have any thoughts on that, Sheriff? I know that was one of the
brought up, yeah.
suggestions.
we need to get with the auditor to figure out how that would work payroll-wise.
Okay. But you wouldn't have an objection if it's something that can be worked into the process?
No, we won't, Commissioner. We're not here, if it's going to benefit everybody, that's what we're here for. We can save the taxpayers some money, we're all for it, okay?
Okay, thank you, sir.
I just wanted to jump in the picture here real quick before we change the subject about the 171. If I understand Martha correctly, you want everybody scheduled 171 to work 171 hours. Is that correct, Martha?
Well, I don't think that's what she said. I think what she's suggesting is that if you work, you get paid. If you don't work, you don't get paid. That's simple.
I thought I understood that she wants everybody to be scheduled to work 171
No,
hours.
that's not what she said.
She's not in charge of scheduling.
Yeah.
Let me get, can we turn the lights on? Dr. Almeida, can you come up and just give the court a little presentation? I'm putting him on the spot. We asked the doctor to come, and he's, we didn't ask him to prepare anything, but we would like to just introduce you to our doctor formally. He's been on board a while, and get to meet him.
Thank you very much. I'm going to have Dean do a little short presentation first, and then I'm going to speak right after.
Thank you. Thank you, Doctor. And thank you for being here.
Thank you, sir.
Good morning, Commissioner. Good morning, Judge.
Morning, Dean.
Obviously, some of the overtime that the jailers have is directly due to the medical department that we have. When you have an increase in inmates, when you have an increase in chronic care or the serious illnesses that are coming in now, it's going to cost a lot more money. It's going to cost a lot more time, and overtime is directly affected by the guards due to the medical department. When I left Cameron County for a short time, I was actually in charge of 14 different infirmaries throughout the state of Texas and one in Arkansas. And the one thing about the MGT recommendations that they had was that we could actually save $200,000 if we did something as far as pharmacy is concerned. What they neglected to know was that since we've hired Dr. Almeida, we've given back the county almost $2 million back. So I think that's just direct care, better care, more thorough care. However, when you do all of that, overtime is going to be affected because we do use guards, and that doesn't even include the federal inmates that we take to doctor's appointments and surgeries and so forth. The other thing that we used to do in the past that has been changed in order to save money is that the other counties throughout the state, including what we were doing in the past, was that if you came in with a pre-existing condition, you were responsible for that pre-existing condition on any off-site cost. We would house you in the jail and do everything we can for you medically inside the jail. But if you were in need of outside specialist care, you or your family was responsible for that. And that's what, if not all, most of the counties in the state of Texas do currently. We've had to change that because of pressure, undue pressure from I don't know who, but now we're responsible for everything. So just let me tell you what we're paying for.
When did that occur?
Why is that?
Well, I don't know why, but all I've been told was that I need to be responsible for every payment. So here's what you're paying for so far. We are having ICE detainers, border cap detainers. You're having people that are coming in with cancer. We're having people coming in that have family violent charges that break their arm or their hand. You're paying for surgery. You're paying for follow-up therapy.
Dean, before
Yes,
you go on and
sure.
on that, I think you've raised everybody's eyebrows here.
Okay.
And I think you need to go back a little bit.
Okay.
First, you were talking about you, and the family. So I imagine you were referring to the inmate or their family was
Yes.
responsible for
Yes.
outside health care.
We did that in the past.
Correct. Okay.
When you
Somewhere
say the
that
past, how long?
yes, somewhere that changed.
That
right?
changed last year.
Okay. And
That changed
under
last year.
what directive?
Well, it happened when we had a gentleman that had a venous malformation in the brain, and we're paying for that.
Yeah, but I'm saying, under what directive did that occur? I mean, I don't know. I don't.
You know, I couldn't tell you the specific person that told me that we had to do this, but all I know now is that whatever bill we're getting, we're paying for now.
For that individual inmate, or does it apply to all the inmates?
All inmates, yes, sir. All
I believe
inmates.
that after this workshop, I think that you need to somehow go back and track down
Okay.
where that happened. Was
I
it a
can do that.
commissioner's court action based on something?
Because monies
Go
that
back.
the county should give, that we give for medical, should be used if it happens on site.
Correct.
Fights, whatever happens on our facility, we're responsible for
Yeah,
it, and I'm okay with that.
I don't
Well,
think,
maybe-
I don't
And maybe
believe
that's a
there's-
question for Martha too, maybe.
Okay.
No, I don't know if who's going to answer that, but I think you need to go back into your memory bank
Okay.
and figure out where that directive came from.
Okay.
Was it commissioner's court, via legal? Go back and just update us. And maybe we may just need our memories to be refreshed, because I don't remember that.
The problem with that here, and Judge and Commissioners, and I don't know if you know that, but Dr. Almeida and I keep up with a lot of stats. 8 out of 10 inmates that we have in our jail come in with pre-existing conditions.
Right.
80%. So the other 20% we're not spending a lot of money on, but it's the 80% that we are actually paying for cancer care, for surgeries and so forth that they've had for years. The one thing I will tell you.
I have a, real
Go ahead.
quickly, now that we're all awake, are
Sorry.
other counties now paying for everything? Are all counties paying?
No, no. Their money, and the reason why this is very specific is because I actually attended a meeting with the state commission with the other jailers that we had, and their specific words out of their mouth was, the money that we have for medical, if it happens on site, we pay for it. If you come in with it, my friend, you or your family is responsible
Well,
for
let's,
it. So,
okay.
but that's Texas
Let's
jail
move on,
standards that
but I
I'm-
think
okay.
that you just need to come back
Okay.
and either through our county administrator, through the sheriff's office,
That-
get that memo back to legal or to us and let us
That
know
one
how.
blessing from y'all will save you a lot more money in the long run as far as we're
Well,
concerned.
there's no doubt.
problem.
So let's get back to
And
this,
Mike, let's make sure Dean's on that counsel,
Thank you.
because it's important for the judges, the magistrates, to know who comes in with a pre-existing
Yeah.
condition, what kind of condition, and what type of costs we're looking at if the county's going to continue to pay for that.
If I may, Commissioner, what hurts us a lot, or the most, is we have ICE detainers, border cap detainers. These are people that have every medical problem that you can think of that we're actually paying for and housing them for them until they take them. The other thing is that Judge Sines has been helping me a lot there at the jail. When we have gentlemen that have congestive heart failure, that we have, our population is aging as the arrests are coming in. So we have people that are 80 years old, 89 years old in jail with Alzheimer's, Parkinson's disease that don't remember anything that they did, but they're in jail from something they committed 5 years ago.
Dean, are you telling us that if Border Patrol or ICE or someone picks up an individual
Yes.
and just decides that, you know, they need to be detained, they drop them off to your facility,
Yes.
and you're responsible for all
Medical
of the medical
care.
care,
Yes.
even if it's a 72-hour detainment?
Everything.
Well, but do they just drop off people that are ICE detainees, or these people that
Their
come into the
charges-
criminal system?
that's right.
And then they put a hold
They
on
put a
them?
hold on it, but that hold,
They put a hold
that
on it.
hold is for whenever they want to come in.
Do we send them the bill on the medical?
Say that again,
Do
Commissioner.
we send ICE the bill on the medical? And what about our federal inmates? Is the county
federal-
paying for their health care?
Here's the funny thing about the federal inmates is that even they were doing what we were doing, and that is, if it's pre-existing that they had, and it was not life-threatening or emergency, they weren't paying for it. And so that's why we were doing the exact same thing until we got changed, and we'll discuss that at a later date. But even the federal marshals, they're paying for things, but if they don't need it, they're not covering it.
But right now, if we have a federal prisoner and they need health care, is the county paying
No.
for it or the
No.
feds?
No, the feds are. The
Okay.
feds are, but even then, they're limiting it to it.
If
Yeah.
the Border Patrol, ICE puts a detainer on a state prisoner, that prisoner, we're responsible for all his medical bills until he goes through the system. So if it's a Class C misdemeanor, and he's in jail,
For 90
and he
days.
doesn't get to court for 30, 90 days, we're gonna pay all.
We're stuck.
Yes, we're
But
still.
once we release him or her,
It goes right to ICE.
he goes to ICE and we don't have to pay.
If the judge were to give him a PR bond right then and there, we call ICE, they pick him.
You're right. And that's, we've done that in the past, too.
So you're telling me that if an individual out in the county has a medical condition they can't afford to treat,
Right.
if they go get arrested and get thrown in jail,
That's the
they're
word
gonna
now,
be-
Commissioner, yes. In the past, the word was with the inmates, and it's funny, they used to say, hey, if you have something and you come in with it, don't worry, we're not going to pay for it here. Now, it's tell your friends, if you have something wrong, go steal a candy bar, and we're going to take care of your medical care. And that's what we've been doing. And in turn, that's what more thorough, more people were taken care of, the better care. It's going to cost us more overtime with the
I'm
guards.
gonna
as
ask
well,
you a
so.
question that the last time you came I asked. What % of the cost of drugs is psychotropic drugs?
72% of my budget monthly is psychotropic medication. And we're holding people with psych problems for up to 2 years there. And medications that we're paying for are Zyprexa, which is $2,000 a month, Seroquel, which is $800 a month. That's the lowest part. So 72% of those people we're holding. Cameron County Jail is now the largest mental health facility from Austin down. We're the largest. I don't know if you knew that.
Well, with the cut in the state budget, they cut a lot in mental health care.
Right.
As a
And we're
result,
getting 'em.
we're going to get more people in our jail.
It's easier for an arresting agency to arrest somebody walking naked in their front yard and bring them to jail than to take them to ER, who wouldn't cost us a penny, to get evaluated by Tropical Texas and be taken care of there. But they're so busy as well, and just like our deputies, they have to arrest that person that's walking naked in the front yard. And where's the first place they take them? To the jail. And that's what happens. With all that said, and with all the problems that were going on, the care has gotten so much better at the jail that grievances are down 85%. So inmate complaints that I'm not getting this, the only time they complain is if we don't give them what they want. And that's narcotic medications and so forth, but we give them what they need. And that's when we brought Dr. Almeida in, and we've changed a lot of policies, protocols, procedures as far as patient care. And all of that is in turn correlates with the overtime as far as the inmates are concerned. They're so short-staffed that when we have doctor's clinic, everything else in the jail stops. Everything. When we try to do diabetics and blood pressure checks, everything in the jail stops because we have to take care of that. Sick calls, every time we do that, we have to stop all traffic in the jail just so we can get the runners and the guards to help protect us. I got assaulted 3 years ago in the jail by an inmate that was definitely mentally ill. I only had one guard in there with me. That's how short-staffed they are. So I know they need the personnel because we can't run a clinic without the whole jail stopping. And if you have an emergency and you needed 2 nurses and a guard to run over there, you're going to need more than one guard with 64 people in the cell.
How many of those mental patients are repeat offenders?
All of them.
Okay, right.
Everyone.
So
They get Commissioner, this is the cycle. You come in and they're unstable. They're in a manic state. You get arrested, you get them stable, because medications take 4 to 6 weeks to work. So you get them stable in 4 to 6 weeks, you get them medicated daily, they walk out your door. What's the first thing they do? They stop taking the medications, they stop going to doctor's appointments, so they've hit that manic state again. So the guy that was walking around cussing, the next time he comes back, he's naked. So he's manic state again. We have to take care of him 4 to 6 weeks or 90 days or 6 months. Then he goes, and then he comes right back. Absolutely.
I
and instead
spoke
of going
with,
for treatment, he comes, here's the treatment is a jail.
last week I had a discussion with Judge Nelson because he created the drug court. And we're talking about doing a mental health court so we can try to avoid these repeats.
I have forwarded emails to several of y'all about what MGT did. I could have saved you a lot of money because I did the same thing. And what happens is that there's, in Harris County, they have day reporters. If people are nonviolent, they put an ankle brace on them, they report there daily. If they don't, instead of throwing them back in jail, they go try to find out why you didn't report, instead of putting them back in jail and putting the care and the money burden on as far as the county.
The day reporting centers?
The day reporting centers, and it works.
You said Bexar County, right?
Harris.
Well, Bexar has a similar program.
That's right. I've been to Collin County, Harris County. I've been every county that you think of, and they do the same thing. Instead of us just following, why don't we take the lead on something like that and do it? That way you'll see the overcrowding done. You won't see the medical budget go up tremendously. You won't see the overtime go up if we just took the lead on something.
I met with a group that brought the idea of day reporting, and hopefully we can maybe look into that. But I think it's like $5 a day.
$5 a day that can be paid
inmate.
by the inmate. And that money can go into your general fund. That's what I've done research on. That goes into their general fund. And if they cannot pay, you know what they make them do? They make them cut grass. What's so hard about that?
But for these psych patients that they're reporting daily, you can keep up with the
medications too.
meds.
Absolutely right. How easy is that? Anyway, let me introduce Dr. Almeida, because if it wasn't for him, I wouldn't be talking like this. So Dr. Almeida is...
So we have the doctor to thank for this.
Yeah,
Thank
you have
you
the
very
doctor to thank for this, not me. So Dr. Almeida has really changed a lot of things.
And you may want to consider how what you're talking about relates to these recommendations. I was looking to see where the infirmary was specifically looked at and recommendations. So
did you see the recommendations? If we did this, you save $200,000. But they never got to say that, oh, by the way, you've given back $2 million already. So we have the buying power, Judge. We buy more than Starr County, Zapata County, Hidalgo County, and Willacy County combined as far as medication is concerned. That's how much we buy.
let me ask you, before we get to the doctor,
Sure.
Are we the only county, to your knowledge, that is handling and paying for all inmate care with pre-existing conditions?
I can't speak for every county in the state of Texas, but I can speak for most, yes.
Okay. And I still want you to come back. I just spoken to legal, and they don't recall,
Okay.
at least within the last 12 months, anything like this. So if you can find out where that came from, how it came from. And
Martha, do you know? Oh, okay. No, basically we didn't used to pay for all medical care for inmates, and a year ago we started to. Do you recall off the top of your head why we would have done that?
Real quick, Martha.
I know that we have a contract with Indigent Health, so we do pay a reduced rate, and I thought we were paying for their medical.
Let me bring
Weren't or were? Yeah, we are.
We are.
No, but before a year ago we weren't, right?
Right, we were not. We were making pre-existing conditions paid for by the inmate and their family. Let me bring one more thing up as far as the indigent program is concerned. When I first started 5 years ago, we used to have somebody from the indigent program come and put all of our inmates on it in case they needed care. chronic care, and this is what would help us later. If we got the people that needed chronic care and put them on the county indigent program, that would save the county a lot of money. Let me tell you why. I pay $33,000 a year for a program I don't use. I can put that $33,000 into the indigent care fund and help pay for people that are in the jail that chronic care needs, and I can pay it at a fraction of the cost if I took that money and put it in indigent care fund for inmates alone. That way you pay the Medicaid rates at 16%, and I'm not paying $100,000. Instead, I'm paying 16% of that, but I've already got the money in a till
Why
or
don't
a
we do
bank
that?
account. I don't know, sir. I'm just throwing suggestions out to you.
No, why aren't we doing that? Is there a reason?
We used to do it in the past, sir, but there were cuts in the indigent care. But if we had one person assigned that would come to the jails and say, okay, this gentleman definitely has congestive heart failure, he has liver failure, he needs dialysis, we put him on the indigent program, I already have money in there, and I take care of that fund without having to dip over and over
Well,
and over.
So
Go ahead.
when we put our indigent health care money with Valley Baptist and that private entity to administer, you're saying that none of those funds go to any of the jail inmate
Not
care?
to me. No. Not to me.
And so when
And
you
that's
take
what I
your
wanted to.
patients over there to get care,
It's taken from my budget to pay.
not from the county
Not from
budget?
the county indigent. And in the past, we used to do that, and we need to do that again. I'll put the money in there,
Well,
and
we
my
need to do it
healthcare is
if
covered for a
the,
year.
if the inmate qualifies under the guidelines.
They're all going to
established.
qualify. Everybody in jail is below the 3% poverty line. You qualify
qualify
automatically.
automatically.
Well, let me just, before we go on, sorry, Doctor. First of all, I don't know that we've had any indigent health care cuts.
Okay.
As a matter of fact, when we developed the program, as a matter of fact, it was just, all it was transferring our 8%, you know, for this partnership that enhanced indigent health care. So there was no cuts. I mean, we gave them our 8%,
Okay. We
and then
had-
they had the drawdown.
When I first started, almost 6 years ago, we had one individual that would come and register our chronic care patients for this front. We no longer have that because now we pay everything from our budget. So if we're going to utilize an indigent defense or indigent fund that we're using Valley Baptist, then I think we should get the most from Valley Baptist to help us with patients as
Well,
far
but
as
let me-
inmates are
Well, but it's not
concerned.
about-
And by use, well, not
it's
just
an
saying Valley,
indigent
but indigent,
defense.
No,
by
but-
putting the money in there. and
But let me
using
say
that.
this, though. This program has been in effect for several years now.
And I've tried this in the
Okay.
past, yes.
First time that this court has heard that.
Have you reached out to
So-
Valley Baptist to say, hey, we need to bring our prisoners and get them qualified?
On the totem pole, I'm the lowest, so I don't go above whatever I have. What I do
Well,
is
come
we
to
just
us.
make do, it's up to you.
Yeah.
I make do with what we have.
Well,
But it's
Dean,
like the
look-
judge said, if we don't know, we can't do anything.
We cannot take action if we don't know.
Okay.
And, I mean, you've been very, very passionate about what you're doing. We've learned a lot in the last 5 minutes. But, you know, if you don't tell us or tell somebody, and you know what, let me rephrase that. You probably have told somebody, but it didn't get to us.
Okay.
And if you're seeing that as a department head per se, that you've gone up the chain of command, you know, at the end of the day,
I like that.
we are the chain of command. I
Right,
mean, the
right.
chain of command stops here. You know, if you don't see that's happening, we need to know somehow,
Actually, the
because
voters are.
we don't know.
Let me
And
tell you, the doctor and the sheriff and the chiefs, everybody have helped me as much as we can, but
Okay,
you get
well,
a
let's-
roadblock and when you reach certain things.
Let's move
but
on.
that's
I want to hear the doctor's comments, but I think today or tomorrow, you need to get with the Indigent Healthcare Program Director, call Yvette Salinas,
Okay.
and have them contact Valley Baptist, find out what we need to do to get these inmates qualified and into the indigent program.
Okay, we'll do
Okay?
it.
Let's
And-
do
and
that.
just real quick, Commissioner.
And I'll help you
Okay.
any way I can, let me know.
That $33,000 that I pay for this program that I do not use,
And what program is that?
it just calculates the 16% of the bill that I have, that I get. If I could put that into an indigent fund.
You-
or
you
Why
have
do you
to
have
or-
to have that program? Who says you have to have it?
It's been in my budget for the past 5 years, sir.
Okay, but who puts your budget together to present to us?
I have no idea, sir, I'm sorry.
Okay,
All I know
well,
is that's $33,000 that I pay towards.
talk to Mike, and if you can remove that from your budget, and talk to Javier, and you just reallocate it. I mean, every meeting we have, people are amending the budget and moving things. And if that's something you can do without, definitely.
Okay, Martha, real quick, because
Real
this
quick,
is,
I'm sorry.
this is
Sorry,
way-
Doctor.
That particular contract that you're talking about is the Indigent Healthcare Solution Contract, it's IHS, and it allows us to pay the jail infirmary and the juvenile detainees cost to be paid at the Medicaid rate or lower, and it has provided hundreds of thousands of dollars of
So then what is it
savings.
that he's referring to, that it's a waste of money?
I mean, that's what we use to generate what we need to pay
But-
on the medical
but
bills.
he-
We pay the
he's saying he
Medicaid rate
c-
or lower.
He's saying he can calculate that 16%, that he doesn't need that program to calculate it. Are you saying we do need it?
I'm saying that that's what we use, and we have not received that calculation
Well, you know
rate
what?
from him, so.
We need to move on. We have a
Maybe
10:30 meeting.
Maybe,
but-
Dean, can you get with Martha and visit? And if you need anything from me, I'll be happy to help however I can.
Commissioner, judges.
Doctor,
thank
how are you today?
Thank you so much. I think that that's definitely a route that we need to go and see why we're not utilizing the indigent care program and get that help. I like to keep things really simple in my life, and that's what helps me, I think, with my patient care. And pretty much each patient that I see, I treat as I treat every one of my patients. I think, what would I do if this was my brother, this was my sister? And that's what has made the difference in our grievances and the care in the department. I explain things to the patients, I show them what's going on, and I work with them. However, at the same time, I'm very judicious in saving money for our county. And so we've saved thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars, one, just by changing medications to generic medications. It's ridiculous for me. These patients come in with medications or are given medications that are so costly that when they get back out to the real world, as they call it, they're not going to be able to buy those medicines. So we try to change generic medicines that they'll be able to buy when they get back out and be able to care for themselves. 80-something% or more of our patients, because of their lifestyle, already have pre-existing conditions. And this is where the private companies that come in and want to woo you to take over the infirmary, so on, make their money. They go and they'll tell you, oh, we'll do it for your budget, right? The budget being $2 million, whatever, but don't tell you, if you go through the RFPs, which I spent a lot of hours going through all the RFPs, they have a little clause that they don't take care of pre-existing conditions. And they can pretty much decide whatever they want a pre-existing condition is. So if you have a patient that ends up in the hospital, that'll come out of the county, and so that $2 million, then plus another $1.5 million probably with the pre-existing conditions. We've been able to lower our expenses through first of all, I'm like 6 doctors in one. When I was in medical school and when I was getting certified, I liked everything that I did, so I've got like 6 different certifications. So a patient comes in, I can do all the primary care. They have a fracture, I can do all of the orthopedics. They have a back injury, I can take care of that. They need minor surgery, we do it in my office. They need pediatric care, I go in and I take care of feet, take care of diabetic foot ulcers. I was the wound care specialist for 10 years. So just with that, we've saved a lot of money, because instead of having to send that patient out to a specific physician, I'm able to do all those things, and my office is open, as well as my phone line 24 hours a day. That in itself has saved us tons and tons of money. The other problem is that a lot of physicians really don't want to see our patients, and it's very hard sometimes to get patients in. Through my rapport with our physicians, we've got a good coverage of specialists that see our patients. Another company comes in, they're not going to have that rapport, and it's going to make that very, very hard. This thing that they're talking about, saving $200,000 in generic medicines, it's obviously somebody who doesn't know anything about medicine or what they're talking about. The margin in medications and in pharmacy now is so short that most mom and pop pharmacies are going out of business because they can't make money anymore. We already get quite good prices and are continuing to work on even better prices. And like Dean says, we've already returned a lot more money to the county than what these people are talking about saving. So I don't think they have a very good idea of what's going on there. It's a very fine line, and it's a decision usually that ends up having to be made by me, because when a patient is in there in front of me, we can talk about pre-existing conditions and not pre-existing conditions. However, I think that the most important thing is that we've got to try to make sure that we're not endangering this patient's life. Because at the end of the day, if it's something that's taken to court, and just because we say, well, it was a pre-existing condition, and we let someone die, that's not good patient care or anything that we'll be able to stand up for. In most of the clinics in the country and in most of the clinics in our state, I'm well aware, because I've been in the know for some time, a lot of doctors don't even see the patients. The patients end up getting seen by nurses. Nurses write orders. The doctor signs off on orders. I go in and see those patients myself. It's caused a lot of loss in my practice, and even some rumors of that if you want to see Dr. Almeida, you need to go break a window and steal a car, which is a little embarrassing, but I'm very, very honored to be doing the job that I'm doing. And I really feel that I'm making a big difference in our community. And at the same time, and I don't know whether it's something that I should do or I shouldn't do, but almost with every patient, I have an opportunity to counsel them and to talk to them about, hey, don't come back here. Don't you have a wife? Don't you have a child? And for whatever reason, these people tend to listen more to a doctor than to anybody else. You know, it's like we're almost giving a little collar when we're given our diploma. So I'm honored to do that also. And I want to be at your disposal in any way that we can help to make things work better. I love the way you guys think. You know, I see you. I had never had a chance really to be before you guys today, but I see how you all are thinking and looking at things and, okay, well, what about the 40%? Where can we do this and that? And that's exactly how we need to think. So I'm here to help in any way that I can, and I will continue to do the best job that I can. And at the same time, we're always very judicious in trying to save money, and we've done a heck of a job. The team that you guys have, not just the medical team, but the police that we have, the sheriff that we have, the whole group, it is a really, really good, cohesive group, and I'm very proud to work in there along with you guys. So if there's any questions, I'd like to answer.
Thank you, Doctor. I tell you what, you have followed in the footsteps of a lot of fine doctors that have provided services to Cameron County Jail, beginning, Dr. Stern, Dr. Victor Gonzalez, Dr. Lenz, yourself, and I'm sure I'm missing, some, but we want to thank you because what you're doing is public service. I know you could be making a lot more money focusing on your own practice versus us, but we appreciate that. In trying to wrap this up so we have a little break before our meeting, I just want to make sure that I don't know what everybody else heard. I think we got some serious concerns and issues, but going back to this MGT study, though, I'd like to go back, Mike, and just kind of, capsulize that I still didn't hear what you can and cannot do within the budget, and I guess you're going to work on that and then come up with dollars so we can start working that in. Aside from the time issues, I think we've got some misunderstandings in terms of what is law enforcement and what isn't in terms of the salary schedules. Dean, you're going to come back and hopefully in the next, don't do it today, right now, do it in the next couple of days and see if you can go back and refresh everyone's memories to where this order or directive came from in terms of providing health care for inmates on pre-existing conditions. You're going to get with Marta on this ICS issue and see how that can go. You're going to work with Commissioner Sanchez if you need to find out. Dean, go back to the indigent health care program and enrolling the inmates with the indigent program. I don't know why that changed. It shouldn't have changed. So get with whomever, whether it's with Marta or with Ms. Salinas and Commissioner Sanchez if you need to. Anything else that we may have missed?
Judge Cascos, and
Yes,
I really don't know about this, but if there's anything that you guys can do to talk with ICE and Border Patrol so that they don't see it so easy just to drop somebody off and not be taking care of them, they should have some responsibility. I'm sure there should be something in their budget. There's people in there that are there for 3, 6 months and even longer because they caught them coming across the border and they drop them off at our facility. I mean, that's very easy for everybody else, but we're paying for it.
It is.
And so maybe we need to go towards them and say, listen, if you're putting an inmate in, you guys need to be responsible for their medical care, for their housing care, or whatever.
And that I agree. That's something, Pete, I'll see in the next week or so, coordinate a meeting with the new Border Patrol chief and hopefully get the ICE people there so we can talk about it. And maybe at least get that going upstream to talk about it. It is important, but you're dealing with a federal bureaucracy that's bigger than you and I combined, so it's going to be tough to do. Did we miss anything that we need to talk about?
No, I'll get that report done. If we could come back in about 90 days, Judge,
Well,
Commissioner?
yeah, we need to have continuing dialogue because we need to start working towards the budgetary aspect of this. In the interim, place an item on the agenda in the next 3 or 4 weeks, whenever you're ready, Pete, to see if the court wants to entertain RFPs for privatization. At least see what's out there. Sheriff, I know that you support it. If it's beneficial, we move forward. If it's not, then we don't. Then we just continue working within the resources that we have. Is there anything else that we missed? Martha, anything?
You will come to us, so Mike,
Mike,
you will come to us sooner than 90 days on the Justice Coordinating Council, though, right?
Yes, sir. Well,
Okay.
We'll get that.
You're gonna do that
Is
today
anyone
or
going to
tomorrow?
spearhead this on this court to be,
well, we're going to
I'll
look to you
volunteer to
do
work with
that.
you.
okay,
Whatever you need, you know. just
okay.
holler.
I mean, and then
I guess what we need on that council is who you believe needs to be on there, and we just take it from there. And then I think once you define, let's say if it's a district judge or county court at law judge, you know, don't wait for us.
Okay.
Go and outreach to them and say, look, we need a directive. The commission is to do this. Who is going to serve from your county court at law or your district judge or from the DA's office, and start out, you know, Sam is here all the time.
Sure.
You know, meet with Sam and see who else we need to get involved in that council. Hopefully we do that in the next 30 days.
Yes, sir. Thank you very much.
Okay,
Thank
Martha?
Go ahead.
Well, that's something that's,
We're going to come back on.
yeah, to come back with that, but on the FSLA stuff? Okay, yeah, get with, Manuel is here already, but yeah, you all work together and bring something back to us. Don't have to be 90 days. Anything else?
I just point out a couple things. One, Dean, and I don't know if he already left, but anyone else out there, any other county employee that we may have, regardless of where you're at in the chain of command, if you see and you find ways that can help be more efficient, you need to let us know, because it's like the judge says, if we don't know about it, we can't do anything. The only way we can act on it is to be made aware, and sometimes if telling your supervisor doesn't make us aware, then take it a step further. Contact any one of us individually so we can be a little more efficient. And lastly, Mike, I'd like you to keep track, if you can, of these changes in the progress, because, you know, one thing that the study gave us last time was that when, you know, someone's going to be out, that there was no tracking mechanism of why they were out and what the circumstance was. And that's what they reported to us.
Yeah, we have that.
Right, the next day you brought me a stack,
Right.
and I met with some of your people showing exactly why everyone was out.
Well, they meant another agency wasn't meeting those
Okay,
recommendations.
well, and the way they made it sound, though, was that it was the jail.
That's all right. We'll take the hit, you know, or
Right.
we come
Well,
back and corrected it.
Again, if this company, if we paid them to do a service and they didn't do it correctly, then we need to call them to the mat and say, hey, you know, garbage in, garbage out.
Exactly.
So if there's other things in the report that weren't done properly,
We'll let
make
you-
us aware, please.
We most certainly will, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Sheriff, thank you for being here. Everybody else,
Thank
the
you.
sheriff's staff, thank you for being here and being a part of this. Anything else? Do I hear a motion to adjourn? Moved by
Second.
Commissioner Garza, seconded by Commissioner Sanchez. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Item carries. Well, we'll save this honorable court later. We are adjourned. We have a meeting in about a few minutes, 10:30. Everybody take a break. This to lead us in those two at the appropriate time. Please rise. Thank you. Thank you. Public comments? No. Public comments, I'll call you up. Unless you want to go first, break the ice. Go ahead, I'll save you the walk up. Come on, Daniel Morales regarding renewable energy.
Good morning, how y'all doing? I just wanted to introduce myself to the county. I live in San Benito, 603 Morelos, and I got my master's in renewable energy in California, but I'm here locally doing solar panels, and especially down here with this category 2-3 wind area. I mean, this is like an average wind speed of 20 miles an hour. So there's information in the packet as far as the costs, the rebates, and on the right-hand side, there's a new, from the Department of Agriculture, there's a program called REAP. It's the Renewable Energy for America program for either farmers or small business owners that will get the funding and the grants for these little small suburb cities, you know, like Los Fresnos and Olomitos and some of these places that you can put up a system and you get, you know, the public grants from the government allocated like $70 million for this program, and this would be a prime opportunity down here. I mean, you see all those big wind turbines up going up on those farms, so they're obviously doing something right. Solar panels are okay, but down here is where the wind is at. And, you know, in case you're going to do any renovations to municipal buildings or even that animal shelter that was on TV, you know, need something like that, you know, we can put up a system where, you know, usually the return on investment's 5 years and it has a 20-year lifespan. So after that, you're going to be generating, you know, electricity, which will be paid back to you by the electric company. So there's a lot of information in there. I have a website, demeterspower.com, and I just want to thank you for your time.
Thank you. Get with Frank Bejarano, who's our one of our grant guys, and then just stay tuned.
What was his last name?
Bejarano. I'm surprised he's not here already, but he's normally here. All right, thank you. Elisa Ruiz Ayala?
Some of these folks are here with one of our agenda items. I don't know if it would be more appropriate if we would call them up during that agenda item. That way,
however you all want to do it.
However you all want to do it, you know.
You want to speak now?
You will not lose your opportunity to address us.
Okay, well, with Cecilia, you want to do the same thing? Okay, thanks. Mr. Fernando Ruiz?
Honorable Commissioner, Judge, ladies and gentlemen, my name is Fernando Ruiz, people of Cameron County. Today, sir, I would like to address Article 2 of the Texas Constitution. Article 2 says that, for example, if you have an elected position, you cannot be a member of a board. You either resign one or the other. This is my interpretation. The Texas Constitution has been changed 9 times since the Republic was formed, the Republic of Texas. Now, I feel that when the elected officials or the board members of what has to be overseen, we have a conflict of interest. But it's up to you to look the Constitution up like I did and find out if I'm on the right track or not. But I have asked for expert opinion, and I think I'm on the right track. And I wish that this department be assigned to the public. We cannot have public officials being members of boards, because you're having, in a manner of speech, saying you're have the coyotes taking care of the chickens. It's a conflict. So we need to correct this, and we need to have a committee of citizens of the county so that we can form more boards to oversee, which is the democratic process. It's our obligation of accountability and oversight. Number one. Number two, I have in this paper today, real quick, like Monday, February 27th. For the past 5 years, I have been going to the appraisal district, and I have had long conversations and differences, which we never reached a consensus with Mr. Fructuoso Gomez. I stopped going because my health is not very well, and I have an aneurysm in the abdomen, and you know, those things can go anytime, so I prefer to stay away. But in this paper, we have all the measurements, February 27th, that I have expressed to Mr. Fructuoso Gomez, that the increase of values of properties is based on economies of scale, supply and demand. Now, there are measurements that accompany this, which are unemployment rate, we have 12%, education, there's so many different factors, and they mention them here, and we have opinions from people from Texas A&M University. It's a very well-written article, because, you know, the people here, we cannot afford any more new taxes. We can't do it. Our taxes are going to be equal to the mortgage payment. This is unrealistic. You know, and then when you read your contract from the mortgage company, all the guarantees are given to the lender. You as the buyer have no guarantees. The insurance company, the appraisal district, if you have any things that you want to discuss with them.
You have 1 minute. You have 1 minute, Mr. Ruiz.
Yeah, they'll tear you to pieces, and the first thing they're going to do is say, you know what, we're going to foreclose. That's the Bank of America here in Brownsville. That's how they treat people. They're vicious. To begin with, I would like for this commission to investigate, because the Bank of America had a commitment with the state of Texas when it came into Texas, and they have not fulfilled the obligation that they had. They're doing business here. But you know, what I'm trying to say is that we, the poor people, the elderly, you know, we've been picked on by Obama and everybody else. And you know, it's time to stop this. We cannot afford to eat anymore because our taxes are going up and up and up and up. And you have to have the measurements to establish that. And we don't have them. So I want for you all to look into this matter, because it has to be addressed.
Thank you, Mr. Ruiz. Consent items, are there any consent items any member of the court wish to take out and discuss separately?
Item D and G.
Anything else? Do I hear a motion to approve consent items with the exception of item D and G?
So moved.
By Commissioner Hernandez, second by Commissioner Gatz. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed? Item carries. Item D, consideration and authorization to execute a mowing and maintenance agreement contract for Port Isabel, Cameron County Airport, Cameron County, and Doyle Wells.
I pulled this one. Did we do an RFP on this?
No, sir, we didn't. What we did is we're renewing the agreement that we have in place with Mr. Doyle.
Okay. And the reason I ask is someone sent me an email wanting the opportunity to have, you know, a bid in this contract or to apply for this. So how long has Mr. Wells had the contract?
Since 2000. And I didn't get an email, but I've been approached by several individuals as well. I met with our legal department. They told us that we don't have to go out for an RFP. We could renew the agreement, since the county is not generating any revenue off the mowing. But we have had this contract in place since 2000.
So I think the concern, I'm sorry.
One at a time, guys.
Like 12 years?
12 years, yes, sir.
I think I received the same email and had somebody come to my office, and their concern was not that we're not receiving money, but that because there's been such a drought and a shortage in the situation with the hay, that other people would like to have the opportunity to pay, maybe pay the county a percentage to cut all that grass and then turn around and whatever they net, you know, sell the hay. So again, I think there is a concern out there, because, you know, times aren't good as far as the weather's concerned. Yes. And hay's in short supply.
Because this is not just mowing, they actually bale, they make bales out of what they mow, correct?
Yeah, there's certain areas that where they mow and they do make bales, but it's not only the areas that is good grass where they bale. There's also a lot of areas out there that have a lot of brush that they get rid of the brush. And also there's a lot of areas that the grass is not good for baling, that they have to maintain as well.
Okay.
Yes, you know, and actually it's saving the county money by them going out there and continuing mowing this grass constantly.
I remember like 4 weeks ago, we approved a similar contract. Did we go out for bids on that contract for the 52 acres here in Brownsville?
No, sir, we just entered into an agreement with a gentleman that was interested in
So we did not go out for bids on that one either?
No, sir.
Okay, which was permissible. And, you know, I mean, I think that if we want to, you know, we need to be equal to all, you know, I mean.
Fairness, I mean, if not, I mean, is whoever has it now going to have it for eternity? Or do we have to, you know, as a court, do we need to give the opportunity to other people, you know?
This agreement that's before you, Commissioner, is for 2 years. I guess with an option to renew for 2 more years, I believe.
I don't have a problem going out for bids on any of this, but I think that we can't selectively choose one parcel to bid out, and then another parcel a month ago, we just gave someone a contract.
I agree. I think we have to go forward on this one, but from this point on, we have to have a deal that any kind of agreement like this needs to be bid out. That way we won't have these conflicts.
Can we cut it down to a year? So
I have no problem with
it'll
that.
give everybody time
Sure.
to go through the process, just to
Sure.
kind of be fair to all.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure the person that's doing it is doing a great job
Yes.
because they've been doing it for 12 years. But when there's other people that want opportunity and we're not giving them an opportunity, you know, we need to, I think, be fair to everyone.
Be equal?
Be equal.
So, you want to go ahead and make the agreement just for 1 year? I know
I
it's,
think we ought to do, even though it has a 30-day out, you know, on there.
Yes.
Anyway.
Well, are we gonna wait a year to start taking in bids on everything?
I don't think we need to wait a year. I think we need to start sooner than that.
Why not do it now? I mean, maybe just do like a 6-month extension and
Or
then,
6 months, whatever, you know.
and then, you know,
I don't have a problem with
the only
that.
thing with that, I got Mr. Doles here, Mr. Dole Wells, he's the gentleman who has the contract. He says that due to the amount of money that he puts into mowing the contract, it's gonna be real hard for such a short time. Do you wanna go ahead and take the floor?
Thank you very much for bringing this up for discussion. I don't have a problem with competing on an open bid market. This is just an agreement that we've done on a win-win basis. The concern that I have with doing for a 1 year or 6 month agreement, this agreement is different in that I'm going to have to do a lot of additional work of brush clearing required on the airport to meet the FAA requirements. So I'm going to be spending several $1,000s on this agreement. I can't do that investment on a short-term agreement, so I'd like your consideration.
would you have a problem if, at this point, instead of approving this, we just opened it up for bids? To give everyone an equal opportunity to bid on this?
I don't have a problem if I knew what we were bidding for. It's no cost to the county, and I take and bear the cost of maintaining the airport, and my reciprocation is harvesting the hay when it's available. We had a drought last year. It's over now.
Right.
So.
No, and I understand it. You know, I know you do a great job, and you know, you contribute a lot to the community, Mr. Wells, but when I have someone calling and saying, hey, I'd like an opportunity, at least for a shot at this, it makes it hard for me to say, oh, no, we're just going to, you know, let whoever's been there keep doing it. And who's to say you won't win the bid? I don't know. It's just, at some point, you know, if we don't act when it's brought to our attention, then we're not really doing our job up here.
Commissioner, I totally respect what you're saying. I have no apprehension at all about competing on a level playing field. This is a 2-year agreement with a 1-year extension permissible. So either we go forward with this or we open it up for a bidding process and you make your policy changes.
Let me ask you this. Because of the drought last year, would a 1-year extension, to be fair to you, since you didn't get any hay out of it last year, would a 1-year extension allow you to capitalize on the recent rains, but still be worth it to come back in a year and then do the bidding?
Yes, as long as I have no issue with that. I'm still going to have to spend about $10,000 on removing the brush, so I'd like to discuss that with the county and see how we can work that out where it's beneficial to both.
Well, the contract spells it out pretty well.
Yes.
That if we award this contract, you will be doing the clearing.
Yes.
Yeah, but that's subject if it's a 2-year contract.
2 years.
But if we're gonna change it for a year, that whole thing changes. Out of curiosity, how many bales do you generate out of that acreage?
On a good year,
On a good year.
I'll generate about 1,500 bales.
Okay.
I'll also say that it's not a matter of buying or harvesting and selling these bales. I depend on this opportunity to maintain my business, my horseback riding operation on the island. So it's been a very good opportunity for me to have a stable supply of horse feed which allows me to employ the people that I employ and also pay the taxes I pay.
What's the going rate for a bale right now? About 650, 7?
Square bales, yeah, and higher.
bale.
I do round bales. I do the 4x5, 4x6 round bales.
How much of that do you sell to other folks?
Last year I sold 20% of that. I consume about 1,500 rolls of hay in my own operation a year.
Yeah, I think bidding this thing out, you don't have a problem with it. I think the only concern that I have is what is it that you're going to bid out? In other words, the only way to bid or analyze this potential contract is if we're getting something in return, X amount of dollars in a rebate of some sort. And I don't know if it'd be a flat fee or based on the bales that you sell, or is it the total bales baled? And what do you do if you have a drought that you do not have any bales per se, but you gotta, I mean, I wouldn't spend 10 grand to go clear out the brush that we have there for a 1-year contract. I'm surprised you're doing it for a 2-year, because no one's gonna come in and do that. Now, does this contract require liability insurance as well?
Yes, I've been maintaining $1 million policy with $50,000 of physical damage.
Okay. You know, I would say that unless you want to do it for a year, that's fine. We can bid it out. But Mike is forced here challenged, and it's okay. What is it that we're bidding out? In other words, what is it we're going to get back in return? That's the only measure that you're going to have in order to.
This is kind of like
give a bid. I mean,
you know, we're going to be bidding out the opportunity for them to mow the lawn for us.
At no.
And they take the grass.
Yeah.
Right. Well, and I guess, but how do we?
People that are interested.
Right. There's people interested in doing it. So
well,
there must be
but,
a monetary value in it.
Well,
if not,
yeah, but not to us. To them, there might be. So we'd have to come up with something. Say, okay, well, you're going to give us back
$1 a bale.
Yeah, whatever. And then how do
we just do a random selection, put everybody's name in the hat, and just pull one?
We've had some of these in the past where the demolition buildings that the county owned, and they could either demolition as a charge to the county or the demolition and pay the county to remove the building. Something like this, what could be is a plus, which is a charge to the county, 0 or minus, which instead of charging the county, they pay the county. And when we open those bids,
right,
you all decide which is most advantageous to the county.
Well, yeah, exactly.
So it's a plus, 0 or minus, and that's what you'll get as bids.
But how would you suggest we set an RFP up in this situation?
This should be a bid. I don't think it should be an RFP. Just a bid, and pricing plus, 0 minus. They pay us or they charge us.
Yeah, that's the only way that you can objectively do it.
So then we don't go according to Bale. It's just whatever their bid is.
I mean, I would.
I mean, there's no guarantee that you know the drought isn't going to come back, and that maybe next year. You know, we're guaranteeing him that he's going to have 1,500 bales. Right. And then all of a sudden, it's a bad year, and he lost out. Plus, he also invested his $10,000.
Or you could. Whoever pays us the most would be probably the most advantageous.
But the problem is with a 30-day out, they could make their bales, not clean the brush, and then see you later.
Well, that's true, I think.
There's also a clearing around the perimeter. There's
a lot of work.
I mean, you have the disc 20 feet around the perimeter. There's
right.
FAA rules that you must follow when you are doing the work. You know, there's requirements.
You look at the attachment you have in place. It shows you the areas that need to be mowed and cleared. You know, all those areas need to be cleared of brush and grass. We have several approach areas at the airport that have to be at a minimum of 24 inches. And those areas have to be from the edge of the pavement all the way to the game fans.
Well, I'm sure anybody that would bid hopefully would be familiar and would do that. I think the issue is what do we do at this point? Commissioner Garza brought up the issue of not too long ago we gave a contract to somebody to do something similar. We didn't go out for bids. Now this one comes up because someone called. Let's do that. I would suggest that we honor this contract. We give them the 2 years. And then on all mowing contracts from this day forward, as Commissioner Hernandez pointed out, that we entertain a bid. And Mike, that gives you time to come up with some kind of a formula. I mean, how is it? Because they're providing a service. We're not losing anything. We're just giving somebody an opportunity to make, you know, either save some money by baling their own hay or making some money by selling it.
Judge, I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
Okay, I have a, moved by Commissioner Hernandez, seconded by Commissioner Benavides. Any further discussion?
To approve the current contract.
To approve
is
the
what you're
current
saying.
contract, and then from prospectively, as these contracts come up again, have Mike Forbes create some kind of an RFP that's going to be objective.
Did you say two with no option or with the 1 year option?
I would say with a no option, just a
Okay.
2-year contract.
My motion with no option.
With no option.
2 years.
The only thing that I'd like to add to this contract would be a clause that says if they're gonna exercise their 30-day out, that they must comply and leave the property up to standard. In other words, and I'm not saying Mr. Wells is gonna do this, but let's say he makes all his bales and hasn't gotten to that $10,000 expense of clearing the brush and says, here's the 30-day out, I'm leaving, and the next person has to come in and do it.
We can, if there's no objection, we can alter that contract. Mr. Wells been doing this for a long time.
10, 11 years.
He's been here, he's not gonna do that to the
Well, I'm
county
not-
and jeopardize other stuff. But why don't you add that, work with legal on a paragraph that somehow he makes us whole or
Can you add?
finishes it.
Can you add to your motion, subject to legal reviewing it with Commissioner Sanchez's?
I will add that to my motion,
Okay.
subject to legal review.
Okay, any further discussion? All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, carries. Item G, JP 52 office staff and a bunch of other people to attend the 16-hour experience. This already happened, really. Who's going to address that? Commissioner, you pulled that one?
The reason I pulled this, I was looking at the backup, and there was 3 clerks that went to training in San Antonio, and each of them are claiming mileage, and that's like $220 a person. And I don't know if each of them actually drove or if we're required to pay mileage for all 3.
Well, and this again, though, this occurred at the beginning of the month.
Right.
Why are we just getting it?
Well, they had,
We tabled it.
we tabled it
After the
because
fact.
they traveled without coming to us, so it was tabled, and they weren't here to address it, so I guess it got
Let
put
me
up.
ask, is there anybody here that's going to address that agenda item? Do I hear a motion
Well,
to
hold on, I have another question.
table
on
it?
This agenda item. Have any of these 3 individuals attended the Odyssey training? Is there anybody here from the computers? I know they're doing training as we speak. But does anyone know if any of these folks that went to training in San Antonio have attended any training in San Benito? Because that's where the training.
I'll make the
David,
motion
you're
to
saying
table-
you
to
don't
table it.
know?
We don't know. That was Judge Cano's office, so maybe they haven't.
Because, you know, I mean, we're sending people to go training in San Antonio, and we're paying for training, we're paying for meals, we're paying for overnight. We have mandatory training that is occurring in San Benito, which is 10 minutes away from the office, and we've yet to have some of these folks attend that mandatory training for us. You know, there's an inconsistency here somewhere. And this is not picking on these 3 people only, it's whoever has not attended the training or has refused to attend the training.
Right, so what do you want to do? Table it?
Motion to table.
By Commissioner Hernandez, do I have a second?
Second.
By Commissioner Gatz, any further discussion? All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, item carries. Martha, can you find out, I think Commissioner Sanchez's question is probably more, well, they're all relevant, but on the 3 vehicles, the mileage, and see if that happened. I find it hard to believe that they would do that.
The reason it is listed as such for mileage reimbursement is because they have both signed and sworn and.
Well, I know, but
that
it
they
doesn't,
have
you don't take
drive.
3 vehicles, 3 people for going to the same place, same time. That just doesn't make any sense.
We went to San Antonio last week, and we all went in David's truck.
Huh?
We do that all the time.
Yeah, Commissioner Sanchez and I, on a holiday, went to San Antonio. We came back all in David's truck, and we had fun. We sang all the way up and down, and I had a good time with Commissioner Sanchez.
I've had many of those trips on a daily basis to Austin with Pete or David, you know, where we drive up and
Yeah, but
drive back.
y'all don't sing, though.
It depends who's
Yep,
in the truck.
he's got a good voice, though. All right, let's go to action item. Thank you. But Martha, look into that, on that mileage for 3.
I play the radio, sir.
Yes. Budget amendments, line item transfers, salary schedules.
Judge, Commissioners, I placed the budget amendments in front of you. You have page 1 and up through page 4 of budget amendments. The first page are all budget amendments, and they're all recognition of funding source, state revenue. And then the following 3 pages are all usual and customary. You've got, I think the largest one is for the PHERP is one of the health grants, and it's an increase in revenue of $99,000, and they're moving and recognizing and increasing the expenditure line items. You have the Sheriff's Department, which is using drug forfeiture of $12,000 of fund balance for operational expenses. M&O for the jail on the last page, we're taking $10,000 from equipment maintenance and putting it into small tools. On the salary schedules, you have the reclassification that the court approved at the prior meeting on reclassifying a detention officer to a sergeant position. It is a budget neutral. And the following salary schedule is for the trial courts, and that was also approved at the prior meeting, increasing the bailiff salary for your approval.
Marta, on the positions that are changed, they have not been hired yet?
I do not know on the.
Because they're kind of like blanked out.
I think the slot number 81, which is, it used to be a detention officer, I believe that one was vacant. I don't know if somebody's here from the jail that can address that.
That one was made to a sergeant from a detention officer?
From a detention officer, yes.
And would the sergeant be watching detainees, or are they going to have a total different function?
Sergeant, my understanding is, has a different function from that of a detention officer.
So we're going to have one less jailer.
Yes.
That's what it sounds to me like.
That was approved at the prior meeting. I think there should be someone here from the jail or the Sheriff's Department that can address that.
Just out of curiosity, I know we just listened to the report on MGT, and we need more detention officers, but yet we're moving a position, and just wondering.
I'm sorry, what was your question, Commissioner?
There was a position that was a detention officer position that is being moved up to sergeant position.
Correct.
Which means we're losing a detention officer.
No.
Position.
The only thing that Mike Leiner did was reduce that salary because it was at a higher scale, and that person retired. So where we hire will be at the lower scale because they're at the entry level, and with the difference of that money, we create a sergeant's position. So we don't lose anything.
So the sergeant is still a detention officer?
Yes, sir.
They'll still watch prisoners.
Yes.
So we didn't lose a jailer.
We didn't lose a.
No.
Okay.
Okay.
How many others do we have, though, in the system that are classified as other than detention officers and have a different title? Do we know?
No, sir. We have of course, a jail administrator, a captain, the commanders, the lieutenants, and the sergeants.
Right.
Mike needed an additional sergeant for certain specific duties. I believe that was in the bookings department. Okay. But we didn't lose any officers.
Okay. Well, I mean, if we have other positions such as this one that we're creating today that are doing direct supervision, and when we look at the detention officer numbers, they're lower, but yet we're using some other positions that are not listed as a detention officer as oversight for the inmates. It gives us a different picture of
right.
The numbers.
This particular detention officer has various duties, and I believe she was doing supervisor work but not getting paid as a supervisor.
But still being a detention officer.
That is correct.
Okay.
So because we had the opportunity, we had the officer that we had in that position retired, so therefore we were able to take some monies from that slot and create a supervisor position doing the same work that she's doing now.
So before you hire the new person at the higher rate because of longevity or whatever, you can lower that rate.
That is correct.
Okay.
Do I hear a motion to
Move to
approve?
approve.
So moved.
By Commissioner Garza, second by Commissioner Benavides. Any further discussion?
A little bit of discussion. Martha, can you keep track of these types of changes in all departments for us, at least for purposes of budget time? So when we come to budget and something's been moved and they're asking for a new position, we can go back and see, well, you had a position, but you closed it out and gave 2 people raises or whatever. Just to kind of have that in mind, because, you know, budget time, I don't have to tell you, things are tight. The other thing, I noticed on the very first amendment, it's an amendment for constable, and they're taking money from office supplies and putting them into camera and police supplies.
Correct.
Can we, if there's a way to track that as well, because I know that there's a lot of mentality out there that as we get towards the end of the fiscal year, oh, we better spend it, if not, we're not going to get it next year. And if we can track that as well, because here it seems like they're taking money that at the beginning of the year they're saying we need this on office supplies, yet here we are half the year later and they're saying, oh, well, we really don't need that, we're going to put it over here. And maybe rather than waiting till the end of the fiscal year to do a sweep, maybe do a sweep of budget 3/4 of the way, and then if they need supplies, come to us and say we need this, as opposed to let's spend it all before we don't get it next year.
What we can do is we can provide a printout to the court that will show the budget that gets originally adopted by Commissioners Court.
And what actually gets used.
And how, and what it winds up with, or what it is at any given time. Because once we post this budget amendment.
But don't you do that already? Don't you give expenditure variance accounts that include that? And, you know, but
it's
again.
It's not as detailed though, but.
You can't sweep budgets. Once they're adopted by us, you cannot sweep them on elected officials.
It gets
It's
done
there.
at year end only.
And also keep in mind that a budget is that. It's an estimated budget based on prior year activity. It's not unusual for every department to make a budget amendment transferring from one line item to another for whatever reason. Can you genuinely keep track of that? I mean, I know that you produce that, but I don't think that you can keep up with every time there's a budget amendment to show that. It's going to be very difficult for you to do that.
And that's why I say we can provide to Commissioners Court what the budget is originally adopted, and then at the end of the year or mid-year say, this is what this department adopted, this is where they are now.
Well, but the only time that you do that, okay, when you do that, when you give us a variance report on revenue and expenditures, the number you don't give, I don't remember you giving us the adopted budget with the new budget and all that stuff. I know we get that in our audit report at the end of the year. Mm-hmm. We show adopted, actual.
Versus actual.
You know, but I think there's one now where you give the adopted budget and then the amendments, the new budget, and then the actual, then to the variance, correct? Mm-hmm. But do you do that, give that to us?
No, what I present to the court is a departmental summary.
Right. Yeah. So within the budget, if you produce the adopted budget or the budget, that includes budget amendments.
We run two separate ones. We know what the adopted budget does not change.
Right, we know what that is, correct.
Okay, so that stays fixed. What does change is the amended budget. So
it's
you will
our job to remember each one.
see a variable there.
Right.
Basically, if we want to remember it, it's our job to remember it.
Or we do get it when we get the audit report,
Correct.
but we get the audit report 5 months after we've already adopted the budget for the next year. Yeah. That's what happens.
You know, if the court wants one at 6 months or every quarter, we can give you the adopted budget and the amended budget, so you can have a comparison.
Okay.
But the amended budget will change.
Okay.
6 months would be good.
Anything further?
Yes, I wanted to ask you, on the last page, you have a bailiff for 103rd District Court, and he's being increased, I imagine, from 32, well, whatever it is, to 35,000.
That's correct.
And then over here, it says supplement of $5,400. Is supplement for what reason?
The supplement of $5,400, this is the last page of this, of the salary schedules for the trial courts, and the $5,400 supplement is one that is given to the district judges. It does not relate to the bailiffs from general fund.
then I guess I'm totally confused. So is Jose Garza gonna get an increase or not?
Well,
He's-
isn't that the one that we approved at the last meeting?
At the
That was
last
for
meeting.
Janet
Oh, is
Leal's
that-
court?
From the
I thought-
drug court.
From the drug court, yes.
Okay, so that's what it is?
Yes, that salary prior to the approval of that was at 32,263. Now it is up to 35,000,
35.
which is being provided by the drug court.
For the additional duties.
Anything further? All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, carries. Claims?
Claims, I have warrants number 275241 through 275482. I also have payroll dated March the 2nd for $40.09 and for $1,614,246.34 for your approval.
Any questions on claims?
I have a question on one claim. It's on I don't see a page 8, immunization action plan. Was that for services or for product? Pedro, you have any idea?
Is that for
Is
the
that a
flu
check
shots?
number? Is that a check number?
Yeah, 426 maybe,
420?
the last two numbers.
It's
the
on
last
page
three numbers.
7, actually, Martha.
Oh, okay. I didn't see how
Page 7 or page 8?
Well, on the left
Oh,
side
okay.
of your printout,
Oh,
it's
yeah,
page 7.
I'm sorry, yes.
That was a direct deposit that came in from, I believe, the state comptroller for $27,873.49. And the funds went into Fund 32, which is the WIC department, and they're being transferred to the Immunization Action Plan, which is a different fund.
So it's a fund transfer?
Yes.
Okay.
Mhm.
Any further questions? Do I hear a motion to approve claims?
So moved.
By Commissioner Benavides.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Gatsa. Please note my abstention on the affidavits I provided. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, carries. Minutes of January 19th and February the 2nd, regular, February the 6th, February 13th, special meeting. Are those ready for approval?
I didn't get some of those.
Okay, do you want to, which
I'd
one?
like to table those.
Okay, do I hear motion to table the minutes that I mentioned a few minutes ago?
And
Moved by
request-
Commissioner
could you please
Gatsa, second by
Second.
Commissioner Hernandez. Any further discussion? All those in favor, signify by saying aye. Any
Aye.
opposed, item carries. Item D, consideration and authorization to hold a public hearing for the purpose of eliminating JP in San Benito. Do I hear a motion to open public hearing?
So moved.
By Commissioner Hernandez, second by Commissioner Gatsa. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? We are in a public hearing. Okay, now y'all can, yes, ma'am. Just introduce yourself to the court and,
Good morning. My name is Elisa Ayala. Do you need the address, sir?
No.
That's fine.
From San Benito. Good morning, everyone. Commissioners Court, today I'm here to defend the position for Justice of the Peace, Precinct 3, Place 1 in San Benito. I am requesting that this position not be eliminated and be kept there. I am here to remind all of you that we are all have been God-given purpose. You all have been given a God-given purpose here today. You are here for a very important position that you hold and a very important opportunity that you have today on what you're going to vote on. I am here to let you know that you represent all of us, the citizens of your community and the people that you serve. Now, somewhere along the lines, sometimes we forget that God has given us a purpose in our lives and the purpose of the position that we hold here, a very important position. Some people might call it politics, other people might call it, maybe they have personal agendas, but whatever, etc. We are here to remind you that we are all here as public servants. We're here to make very important, critical decisions, but always in the best interest of the citizens that you serve and the community. You see, we are the people. I would like for the citizens of San Benito to raise your hands. Rio Hondo, El Ranchito, Arroyo City. You see, we are here today to let you know that we will be affected and impacted by the deletion of this position. Now, we're requesting that you not impact and affect people's lives today. We are here to let you know that we sit here today and you have been placed in your positions by we the people, and it's for the people and by the people. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Next.
David, what's there? That's the second person.
It's okay. I'm okay.
Really?
What'd you do, David?
Put a cone there, please.
I'm happy it didn't fall. That would have been bad. I still would have spoken. I thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak to you all today. As leaders, I completely respect you. I haven't had
Can
the
you
opportunity-
identify yourself for the record?
Cecilia Ayala, yes. I haven't had the opportunity to speak to all of you personally, but I hope I get to meet you soon. It has come to my understanding that the decision for removing this position has already been made. That was very disheartening for me to hear, considering the vote or the agenda hasn't gone through yet. But there has been an expansion on districts, and considering that, I would think that you would want to add, another justice instead of taking a justice away. I know this has been in the process for like 2 years, I heard, trying to I guess keep the same number of justice in by removing one and adding another one to Brownsville. I do understand that. But the Rio Grande Valley, and in general, the population's growing, which means, traffic tickets are going to grow, deaths are going to grow, marriages are going to grow, all in which are served by the Justice of the Peace. In removing one, I mean, the standing justice that is currently in San Benito and the one in Rio Hondo are going to get a bigger caseload, which brings minimal service to the people. If somebody needs to go and get, advice for something or, consulted for something and the justice doesn't have time for them, that's taking away from what they, want them there for. And I heard that there was a plan already in force if Julian Sanchez, which was the current JP, had stayed in for the running for re-election, the position would have stayed open for another 2 years. I think that we should stick with that plan, or if not, I would just stay with the 3 justices, stick with the plan. Just because he dropped out, all of a sudden, everyone's in a really big hurry to cut this position off. You should just stick with the plan, let campaigning go through, and we'll see from there. I did speak with the Valley Baptist Medical Center. I got informed that they use the JP services greatly there, and that, sometimes it's really hard to find justice, to go pronounce a death or release people from the hospital and stuff like that. And they did confirm that, it's really hard to find a justice, and I did inform them that a justice might be, removed from the area, and they said that that would affect them greatly. There is a candidate in the running right now for this position, and he has been, planning for this and campaigning since November of 2011. And I think it is very short notice to take this position away, for something he has been planning and looking forward to and working hard for. I know, maybe some of you or your family members are running or will be running soon for re-election. How would you feel if your position, that you were looking forward to, working hard for and believing in was taken away, 2-3 months before elections were made? This is me personally, a concerned citizen. I thank you all for your time, and I hope that you take into consideration. Thanks.
Thank you very much. Anybody else want to make public comment? I appreciate y'all being here, and I wrote down some notes as Ms. Ayala was speaking, and I think that I've been discussing the reduction of JPs since I was a county commissioner back in the 90s. I think some members of the court have probably done a little bit of research in the last week or so, or maybe before, in terms of the number of JPs that Cameron County has as it relates to other counties comparable to our size or larger. And it probably would surprise you to know that we've got more JPs per capita than any other county our size or larger. And I just go to our neighboring county, Hidalgo County, that is twice as big as we are in terms of population, 60% larger than us in land mass, and they have 9 JPs. And you go up to Webb County, I think they have 6. Go to Nueces County. Everybody has fewer JPs than we do. So this is kind of, I wanted to eliminate this particular position back when we were talking about the positions, It just didn't go that way. It was short notice, and that's just the way it kind of worked out. I support that. San Benito is not going to be losing a JP. What I'm going to, because in 2 years, if this position would have continued, it wouldn't have been for 2 years, Ms. Ayala. I would have gone on to the extent of the term, which had been 4 years. So the 2-year issue applies to the Rio Hondo JP that would have merged into San Benito. Brownsville has 2 JPs. Hard to justify 3 JPs in San Benito, just because of the caseload. If you look at the caseload that Brownsville and Harlingen has, but just stick to Brownsville. They have the lion's share of the population. They have the lion's share of the caseload, 3 times larger than some of the smaller JPs. And it's never popular, and you know, I respect the commission for entertaining the elimination of this JP. It does take some courage to do, because no one ever wants their positions eliminated. Some of these JP positions were created for political purposes aside from the need. And you're right, our county continues to grow. But at one point we had 11 JPs. And we represent now about 45,000 people per JP. I don't know what to tell you, other than it's a way to downsize government a little bit, create some opportunities in terms of downsizing. We just did that with the constables. They're running in a larger area now. There's nothing to prevent the candidate to run in 2 years for this spot. It will, you know, it'll encompass San Benito, Rio Hondo, in the area now. As far as the effectiveness, I've asked, and we'll be asking Judge Flores to make San Benito, as soon as this spot is eliminated, beginning in 2013, his home base. In other words, he will be there. I would also ask him to consider going to Rio Hondo, keeping that office open, and using that as a satellite office for him. And much like we may have in La Feria, we have the La Feria JP now running in the Harlingen area. His office, in all likelihood, is going to be in La Feria. But here we have an opportunity where Judge Flores will have a satellite office in Rio Hondo, which he can man, you know, however he decides. But I'm hoping that he spends at least 3 to 4 days a week in San Benito, with 1 day or 2 days every other week, or 2 weeks in Rio Hondo. As far as Valley Baptist, I've gotten called several times to go pronounce somebody dead because they couldn't find a JP. They don't answer their phones on weekends sometimes. They're out. They're supposed to be on call. They don't answer, whatever reason. So even with 11 JPs, I was being called to pronounce people dead. So all the Miami CSI shows I saw kind of paid off. But it's important to know that JPs are going to continue doing what they need to do, but they need to answer their phones. As far as the Julian Sanchez's position, had he not elected not to seek re-election, we probably would not be having this conversation. But in 2 years, as you mentioned, in 2014, Mr. Judge Flores' position was going to be eliminated, basically, and he would have to run against whomever is there in San Benito. So I don't think it's going to have the impact that some people may think it is. He's still going to be there. He's going to be showing up. As a matter of fact, I encourage Judge Flores, if he hasn't done so already, to begin visiting that office to get himself assimilated to it. But I think he's assured me that beginning in 2013, he will be going to San Benito. So San Benito is going to still have 2 JPs. They won't have 3. And really, that's where we're at this point. Anybody, Judge Flores, would you like to make a comment at this point, or you're okay?
Commissioners, Judge, good morning. At this time, if the motion does pass, is coming up, I assure the people in San Benito that I'll be there, the same way I'm for the people right now in my precinct, which now encompasses San Benito, Rio Hondo, and Arroyo City. Just give me the opportunity, and I'll show you guys that I can represent y'all properly also.
Thank you, Judge Flores. Any other comment?
Yeah, I would like to tell you, I have as we've gone through the process for the last year, everything's been reduced. That includes employees here at this building. We eliminated 2 positions here. And I don't know what we did at the main building, but we have tried to bring the workforce down, basically because the county budgets are tight. We want to be able to give our employees raises without raising taxes. That's the #1 thing. Everybody wants to go to the taxes immediately, and we're trying not to do that. If you look at other counties, Bexar County has 6 JPs. Each JP serves 285,000 people. Right now, the San Benito Rio Hondo JPs serve 20,000 people apiece. So to go to 2, you're gonna have 30,000. It's not gonna have an impact. It may have a personal impact politically, but we don't, me personally, I do not plan to add another JP or another constable as long as I'm here. I will never vote for that. Whether it's needed or not, we can't afford it. We just don't have the money.
This is a public hearing. If you, Mr. Ruiz, please to the podium.
It's an observation concerning this conversation, but the census is taken every 10 years, and not everybody files for it. We have areas that are completely unattended, people that have not registered for the census, and those are parts of their community. And we have to consider them because they are not, in our knowledge, registered. So how many people do we have in the county that are not registered? Thousands and thousands and thousands. Where do they live? Well, all over the county. Are we taking into consideration that factor?
Well, I don't know if we're taking into consideration. We have to go with the numbers that we have. And whether everybody says we've got more people than 420,000, that's fine, but we have to go with the information that we have. We can't speculate. Could be 500,000, I don't know. But we have to go with the numbers that are official and that we have.
If you base it on revenues, if you check the revenues in San Benito, they're very, very low also. Both JPs don't collect as much as one JP in Harlingen does. It's incredible, yeah, but you don't see that part of it. All you see is the public side of it. And that's pretty much all I have to say.
Webb County, do you have Webb County there?
I don't have Webb, I have Bexar. I have Harris County, they have 16, Bexar has 6. Each JP serves 285,000 people.
Commissioner?
I do wish to make a comment. You know, it's not easy for a commissioner from the precinct in which a JP position is being considered to be removed to support that. But that action has been ongoing on this court since I've been here in regards to the discussions. We have not had the intestinal fortitude on this court sometimes to do the right thing because it's not politically expedient and it's not what people want to hear, you know. And unfortunately, as Elisa was saying, you know, we're put up here to do what in our hearts we feel is the most important thing to do for the constituents of the county and the taxpayers of the county. You know, I think you saw Commissioner Sanchez and myself ask a couple of questions, but him more so in regards to travel. You know, we're scrutinizing travel. We're scrutinizing the sheriff last week on a travel to Austin and asking that he return Friday at 6 and come home and get here at midnight after a meeting instead of spending an extra night. You know, the budget is something that we are having to scrutinize. We scrutinize positions today. I think that you've witnessed that we're looking at pretty much anything that comes to the surface that we can ask about. The jail issues, I'm so glad you were here so you could listen to some of those things. But it's difficult. It's difficult more when you have an incumbent in office for me to say, you know, there's an incumbent that's running for re-election and you remove him from office. That's very difficult. We were delaying the inevitable with Judge Flores for 2 more years. The discussion occurred in the last 3 budget cycles that we've gone on. As a result of that, we have a new commissioner to my left that used to be a JP that we eliminated the position for. You know, I mean, and it was not a popular thing to do, you know, because we all have friends, relatives, and constituencies in these areas. But, you know, we eliminated his position, and he's now a commissioner here. You know, we eliminated a constable position in La Feria that is now having to run at large in the Harlingen area. We eliminated, a constable position in Rio Hondo that is gonna be now part of the San Benito area. And it's a matter of, for me, it's a matter of fiscal responsibility, mostly. All due respect to all of you and all due respect to Julian Sanchez, I did not know that he was not running until I read it in the paper the morning that it came out in the paper. I don't know about the rest of the commissioners, but I can assure you that I had absolutely no idea that anything was occurring until that day. My discussion with this court has been at the next duly posted meeting that we had here, but there had already been ongoing discussions previous to that in the budget process to eliminate that position. And, that came up. It's an opportunity for us to move the agenda forward a little bit in regards to savings to the county, and that is why we're here. Not because, I had to talk to your grandpa, Mr. Ayala. He's my friend. I talk to him regularly. Mr. Ayala is a good friend. I know him. He's been a police officer in San Benito for a number of years. I have nothing but utmost respect for him. It's not an individual thing. It's a fiscal responsibility that I feel I have to the constituency and to each and every one of you.
Thank you, Commissioner. This is a public hearing.
I'd like to make a few comments. My position was eliminated as a JP, and now I sit here probably doing a lot more tedious work than I ever thought I'd want to do, but that's how it goes. We're public servants. The difference I think though here is that I was told before I filed for office, hey, this position's gone. I didn't go out and spend any money. I didn't spend time. I didn't campaign for the JP office because I was given fair notice. And it's no secret that we were looking at combining the JPs, and we're gonna shift, not eliminate, but shift one to Brownsville, okay? And I guess the way you look at the words of what elimination is or who we got rid of, we didn't eliminate a constable in La Feria or eliminate a constable in Rio Hondo. By merging the precincts, what we did is we put that to the voters, for the voters to decide, who are you going to elect? In Harlingen and La Feria, rather than having two chiefs, we're going to have one. The same number of deputies are there, but instead of having two heads of the divisions, you just have one as an administrator. Who gets elected will be dependent on who the people choose to be their constable. And whoever gets elected is going to serve La Feria, they're going to serve Harlingen. Same thing in San Benito and Rio Hondo. We merged them. If you look at the population numbers, by merging Harlingen and La Feria, we have over 100,000 people. If you look at Rio Hondo and San Benito, there's about 54,000 people. Doesn't make sense to have 3 judges for 54,000 people when you have 2 judges in Brownsville for 180,000 people. In fact, if we were going to go to just numbers, it would probably make sense just to have 1 JP in that entire area of Harlingen, of San Benito and Rio Hondo, if you're looking at just population numbers. But again, it's a difficult job we have up here to do. And by combining the San Benito, Rio Hondo areas, and Judge Flores was going to have a tough situation too, because in 2 years, when we combined those precincts, we were going to shift one, then he would have to run against Judge Garza. It wouldn't be, oh, we're eliminating the Rio Hondo court or we're eliminating the San Benito court. We're combining, we're making one, and the voters are going to decide. Okay, so it was inevitable. I think the biggest problem here is the timing, because Mr. Ayala has already expended funds. Do you know how much he's spent on his campaign? $2,000. Okay, and that's money that no one's going to give him back. All the time and effort of him, his supporters, his family, no one's going to give him back. And that's really the biggest issue I have with it, was we didn't give enough notice so he could avoid spending this money. And that's why I oppose it at this point, because of the fact that if he would have been told from day one, you know what, this position's gonna be closed, you can't run for it, ni modo, you know, I can't run for it. But he went out and spent money and time, and that's the problem I have with it, because I don't think it's fair to him at this point to do that. And the only reason it's being done is because Judge Julian Sanchez decided he wasn't gonna run because of his family responsibilities. And so that's what I think is difficult here. But was an elimination gonna happen of one of the courts? Yes. Could it still happen of one of the other ones? If we look at the numbers, maybe, you know? And it's a tough thing we do up here, and like Commissioner Garza said, we're glad that y'all were here because you see some of the things that we have to do up here and some of the people we have to question. And, you know, to tell the sheriff, hey, sheriff, we're not going to let you spend 2 nights. I mean, he's our biggest department in the county. He's probably in charge of more of our county employees than anyone that we have in the county. But the difficulty is, if we don't do that to him, how is that fair to his employees or any other county employee that we do it to? We've got to try to treat everybody as equally and fairly as possible. It's nothing personal. Here, though, I understand that the situation is different because Mr. Ayala has already spent time and money when, had we done this before the notice, it could have been avoided.
Does that $2,000 include his filing fee? Okay. No, but I mean, did he already pay the filing fee? Because he can get that back. Okay. Good to know. All right. This is a public hearing.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for coming today. When we first started talking about the elimination of certain positions, I felt that it was unfair at the time that we should be eliminating positions that have served all our communities for quite some time, as is in this position. And it's most unfortunate that Judge Sanchez decided to pull out at this particular time for whatever reasons. I, of course, just learned about it very, very recently. I don't even know what the reasons were for it, but be that as it may, I want you to know that I feel the same way as Judge Sanchez. I feel that it's unfair to him because he has worked hard, and I'm sure all of you as his supporters have gone out and also promoted him, and I know that he would probably be a very good public servant. I don't like eliminating positions. It's very, very hard. And I voted against it from the very beginning. And so I just want you to know that we may eliminate the position, we may not, but whatever comes of it, don't think that we don't feel, you know, that you feel the loss of being able to serve possibly at this time. Hopefully he'll come back and seek the position 2 years from now. But thank you so much for being there to support a person that wanted to be a public servant.
Thank you. Any other public comment? Do I hear a motion to close public comment? Public hearing?
So moved.
Moved by Commissioner Hernandez, second by Commissioner Benavides. Any discussion? All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Item carries. Item E, consideration and authorization to adopt an order eliminating JP Precinct 3-1 pursuant to Code Section Article 5, Section 18. Do I hear a motion?
I'll make the motion to eliminate.
To adopt an order?
Yes, sir.
Moved by Commissioner Hernandez. Do I have a second? Second by Commissioner Garza. Any further discussion? All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Item carries. Item F,
Aye.
discussion and possible action regarding consulting services agreement report titled Cameron County Cost, Stabilization, and Effectiveness Study as it relates to Sheriff's Department. Nothing on, that's what we talked about earlier this morning, and we've already discussed that. So do I hear a motion to table that?
So moved.
Moved by Commissioner Gatsa.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Hernandez. Any further discussion? All those in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed, item carries. Item G, discussion and possible action regarding the adoption of policy regarding tax compliance, tax-exempt governmental bonds.
Judge and Commissioners, I placed a copy of the policies in your backup. These policies were developed by our bond counsel, and his recommendation, I put the letter transmittal from the bond counsel where they're recommending that the court adopt the policies.
Okay, any questions? Do I have?
Does this address the changing of amounts from one area to another and the authority that we have within our scope and our duty as policymakers to make changes?
I'm not sure if it does. What I was going to recommend, if there were any questions.
Why don't we table this?
Right, because they're going to be
Okay.
here in about 2 weeks.
Yeah,
so
why don't
I
we
can
table this
discuss it
before
then.
they get here, because we do need to talk about the
Right.
reappropriation of those bonds.
Okay.
You hear any motion to table?
So moved.
By Commissioner Benavides and by Commissioner Gatz. Any discussion? All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, item carries. Do I hear
Judge, on executive session, there was some homework we were trying to get done before this
So you're not-
session.
so
We're
you're
not ready for it.
Okay. So then there's no executive session. Do I hear a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Moved by Commissioner Benavides and by Commissioner Gatz. Any discussion? All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, item carries. God save this honorable court.